lot to be concerned about in terms of our federal resources and a lot to talk about. I noticed in the materials that it's HFA's 65th anniversary, which is kind of cool. I didn't realize
How old we are?
how old we are. Yeah, I'm glad it's older than I am. There are two items I just want to highlight in the materials. One is in the DECO report and the significance of the MWBE utilization at 33% overall, which I think is significant. It really shows the commitment that we're making to that, and I hope folks are paying attention to that. Also, the fiscal health of HFA and SONYMA is also very significant, and to me, those two combined, evidence both our margin and our mission, which, again, I think is really significant. I'm assuming Ruth Ann will touch on the state of the state and the executive budget that was released, so I'll end it there and just say go Bills, the only New York football team. And Will, I'll leave it to you to open the meeting.
I hope you can see this, Steve.
I see it.
I mean, even in like this distance, it is like loud and clear.
So we're going to start by opening the meetings of HTFC, the Housing Trust Fund Corporation, the New York State Housing Finance Agency, the Affordable Housing Corporation, the State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency, and the Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, and the respective committees that are meeting today. We're still waiting on a couple of SONYMA directors, and we will open the SONYMA meeting once we have a quorum of SONYMA directors. We can start with the HTFC agenda, so that's why we're getting started. To begin, we note the following: Jesse Olzak, representing the Director of the Budget, David Gonzalez, representing the Secretary of State, and Chris Curtis, representing the Commissioner of Taxation and Finance, are participating via video conference from the Division of the Budget's Conference Center at the Capitol Building, Room 131 in Albany. B. Gonzalez is participating via video conference from HCR's office in Syracuse at 620 West Erie Boulevard, Suite 312. And Andy Sanfilippo is participating via video conference from HCR's Buffalo office at Electric Tower, 535 Washington Street, Suite 105. In accordance with the Open Meetings Law, notice of our locations has been made public, and the public has the right to attend and observe the proceedings from these locations. To open the meetings of the HFA Board, the AHC Board, and the HTFC Board, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meetings.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I'll now ask for individual votes from each member of the HFA Board, AHC Board, and HTFC Board, starting with Chairman Weiss.
Aye.
Commissioner Wisnauskas.
Aye.
Mr. Olzak.
Aye.
Mr. Curtis.
Aye.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre. Ms. Pecure. To open the meetings of the HFA Audit Committee, AHC Audit Committee, HFA Governance Committee, and AHC Governance Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meetings.
So moved.
And second, Mr. Olzak.
Aye. Second.
For the individual. It's okay. For the individual votes of each committee member, we'll accept the previous votes of Chairman Weiss, Mr. Olzak, and Mr. Curtis. To open the meeting of the HFA Finance and Program Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting. The motion?
So moved.
The second, Commissioner?
Second.
For the individual votes of each committee member, we'll accept the previous votes of Chairman Weiss, Commissioner Wisnauskas, and Mr. Olzak. Going to pause on the SONYMA opening. Okay. To open the meetings of the State of New York Municipal Bond Bank Agency and the Tobacco Settlement Financing Corporation, I will ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meetings. Motion.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
I'll now ask for individual votes from each member of the MBBA Board and the TSFC Board. Chairman Weiss.
So moved.
Mr. Olzak.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
And Mr. Sanfilippo.
Aye.
To open the meetings of the MBBA Audit Committee and the TSFC Audit Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order and consider each agenda item and later adjourn the meetings. Is there a second,
moved.
Mr. Olzak?
Second.
So for the individual votes of each committee member, we will accept the previous votes of Chairman Weiss, Mr. Olzak, and Mr. Sanfilippo. To open the meetings of the MBBA Governance Committee and the TSFC Governance Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meetings. the chairman, and second, Mr. Olzak.
Second.
For the individual votes of each committee member, we'll accept the previous votes of Chairman Weiss, Mr. Olzak, and Mr. Gonzalez. We will use these votes as items are voted on throughout today's meeting unless a board member decides to vote differently or needs to recuse themselves. The meetings, save for the SONYMA meetings, are now officially open.
Okay, I'll turn things over to President Wisnauskas for her president's report.
Should I wait and do mine when Sunny May is open too, or
Yeah,
do
might as
now?
well.
Yeah, I'll find some, come back to me.
Okay.
Okay, in that case, we'll begin with the HTFC board agenda. Item 1 is the adoption of the relevant sections of the consolidated minutes listed in the agenda that shall be deemed approved absent any corrections. Item 2, Land Bank Initiative Awards, and Crystal Loeffler will present this item and the next 6 items. Hi, Crystal, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great, thank you. So first, the Office of Community Renewal has an open round request for applications to allow land banks to request land bank initiative funding as new project needs arise. This month, we're seeking approval to award just under $5.5 million among 4 land banks. The awards include $300,000 for operations for the Monroe County Land Bank. That's the most recent of the 31 approved land banks. $1.2 million for the Franklin County Land Bank, $2 million for the Livingston County Land Bank, and $1.9 million for the Steuben County Land Bank. The funding is made available to land banks for a variety of activities, including pre-development work, acquisition, demolition, building stabilization, and construction. Sometimes it's as standalone activities and sometimes to complete projects from start to finish. We allow the land banks to embrace the flexibility of this funding source and meet their specific local needs. While there was a relatively slow start with this funding, there has been significant progress during the last year. We have now formally committed more than $61 million and dispersed more than $24 million for projects among the land banks. So thank you for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
And now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The resolution adopted.
Item 3, Rural Reservation Program Award. Crystal?
Sure. $7.5 million was included in the New York State budget for the Rural Preservation Program this year. This is an annual program that has been funded for decades and provides administrative funding to support a network of approximately 60 non-for-profit housing providers known as Rural Preservation Companies or RPCs. Most of the awards for the 24-25 contract year were approved by the board last May, but we opened a notice of funding availability in late 2024 to allow new organizations to join the program and fill vacancies created when existing participating non-for-profits dissolved or were terminated from the program. We have reviewed the application received, and we're requesting board approval to issue an award of just over $60,000 to the St. Lawrence County Community Development Program. This will be a contract for half of the typical contract year, but allows the organization into the program to be eligible for renewal and participation in July. Details are included in the memo, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks. Well,
Now before the HTFC board is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 4, reallocation of the Targeted Home Improvement 2023 Award. Crystal, you're up again.
Thank you. $50 million was included in the 23-24 New York State budget for a homeowner stabilization program, and the program was launched as the Targeted Home Improvement Program, or THIP. 13 awards were made in early 2024. Among the awardees, 3 were selected to support owner-occupied rehab projects in the city of Binghamton. This fall, one of those administrators, Tioga Opportunities, notified our office of its withdrawal from participation in the program, citing internal capacity issues. To allow the funding to remain locally and serving the city of Binghamton, we plan to reallocate their $1.2 million award among the 2 remaining administrators. Specifically, we are requesting board approval to award additional funds and amend grant agreements for both First Ward Action Council and Home Headquarters, our 2 remaining administrators. I'm happy to take any questions from the members.
I would just remind, just to sort of thread back to the past, that this is a program that on the heels of the TOP shooting, we went into Buffalo and did targeted funding in low-income homeowner, high-distress housing code violation neighborhoods, and then on the heels of that decided to actually do that in other cities
great.
upstate
Yeah,
where we can see this sort of overlap of high home ownership, high distress, taxes, code sort of a thing. So this is, just for folks to remember, that's what this targeted home improvement program is. It's very cool. It's not that, it's newish for us and still cool.
Great.
Now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 5, New York State Community Development Block Grant Economic Development Awards and increases. Crystal.
Thank you. We make approximately $15 million in CDBG funding available in an open round application for CDBG eligible economic development activities each year. This month, we're advancing 6 award recommendations totaling $1.5 million. These include $100,000 to Livingston County to support the Big Tree Inn in the village of Geneseo, $300,000 for the village of Elmira Heights to launch a local microenterprise program, and $200,000 to Cortland County, and 3 $300,000 awards to Allegheny County, Columbia County, and Niagara County to expand and extend their existing micro programs. Our CDBG team has created this as a new option for micro enterprise awardees to renew funding with an abbreviated application process. We're hoping to reduce the paperwork and allow them to keep this funding flowing locally to small business when significant demand is presented. Full details are in the memo and individual briefing sheets, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
It's great.
Now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 6, New York State Community Development Block Grant CARES Award. Crystal.
Thank you. New York State has been administering a CDBG CARES Award of $127 million since the funding was authorized for pandemic response and prevention in 2020. We have made more than 90 awards and dispersed over $100 million to date. As projects wrap up, some are leaving funding unspent, and we are actively reallocating those funds to projects with funding gaps or additional needs. This month, we are requesting approval to award additional funds and amend grant agreements for 2 existing awardees. Specifically, these are $450,000 for Unity House in Troy and $150,000 for the Food Bank of Central New York. These increases will allow for additional food and hygiene supplies to support local distribution programs for low and moderate income individuals. Full details are in the memo, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
One question is, are we doing any marketing around these programs, not signing a check with some of the governor's name on it, but putting in sort of things?
I'm sorry, I can't hear very well.
Oh, here's your mic on.
Turn your mic
Yeah,
on.
sorry. Mic's off.
Yeah, I was just wondering if we're including in this funding marketing materials that folks can give out at the food bank and market the fact that this money is coming from the governor or things like that, so that basically to go on the offensive on the marketing game, on the resources and the importance that they are to a lot of our communities, especially upstate and rural communities, which may not fully put together the pieces on the importance of these resources and where they come from.
Great idea.
Yeah, I think it varies depending on the type of project. I think with these CDBG CARES projects, we've been doing a lot of press when there are events surrounding them. That allows us to kind of talk about where the funding came from and who's been supporting these communities with the funding. And then with our other CDBG activities like infrastructure project and public facilities, we do typically make more of a press push with them. But I think with these, we're a little less active about it, but I can certainly take that under advisement and try to be a little bit more active with all types of projects.
And if you're picking up a bag of goods from the food bank and you got a note inside that this is and the Inflation Reduction Act or other things that you may not agree with. So I think it's important.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, well,
Now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried, the resolution adopted.
Item 7, New York State Community Development Block Grant Vacant Property Clearance Program Award. Crystal.
Thanks. OCR launched a new open round funding opportunity in the summer of 2024, offering up to 10 million in CDBG funding to support demolition and clearance projects. This month, we are advancing the first application for award. The City of Amsterdam has requested 1 million to assist in the demolition and related costs to clear up to 23 vacant and uninhabitable structures. The city has determined that the properties have deteriorated beyond the point of rehab and need grant support to remove the structures that are posing health and safety hazards within the community. We are requesting board approval to award up to 1 million and enter into grant agreements with the City of Amsterdam. Details are included in the memo, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Okay, item 8, New York State Home Buyer Development Awards. Crystal, last time.
Thanks. We launched a request for applications in 2024 to offer up to 10 million to support a home buyer development program using New York State Home Program funds. I had 2 on the agenda last month and another 2 this month. This program allows non-for-profit developers to request funding to support rehab or development of up to 4 homes for sale to low and moderate income home buyers. This activity is intended to support small projects that may not be able to access the agency's larger development resources. And this month, we are requesting board approval to award up to 1.2 million in New York State Home Funds and enter into grant agreements with Ulster County Habitat for Humanity, Steuben County Habitat for Humanity to construct 5 homes for sale to households with incomes at or below 80% of the area median income. The memo and briefing sheets provide more detail, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Crystal.
Great, thanks.
Go Habitat.
Now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried, the resolution adopted.
Okay, item 9, we're going to table until later this morning. Item 10, seeker documentation and classification of the Essex County LBI program.
Hey.
And Cody Sargood with our environmental unit will present this item.
Hi there, Cody Sargood, environmental analyst, seeker officer. Today I'm recommending that the Essex County Land Bank Initiative Program be classified as an unlisted action and a negative declaration be made in accordance with the State Environmental Quality Review Act. The proposal is for approximately 18 commercial and residential rehabilitations, demolitions, and new construction projects on scattered sites within Essex County. As not all sites have been finalized, this is a general review and site-specific reviews will be undertaken for each site as it is chosen prior to site-altering activities. No unusual circumstances or unmitigated adverse environmental impacts are presented by this action, and at this time, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks.
Now before the HTFC board is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried, the resolution adopted.
Okay, let's see, the remaining 7 items on the agenda are for information only. There will be no presentation unless requested. Items 11 through 17. You want to open?
Yeah, so let's open the SONYMA meeting and I'll grab Director Freeman.
Oh, okay, so it's done.
Morning, Joyce.
Morning, Steve. Morning. Made it. It's cold out.
Happy January.
Oh,
Happy
traffic is
birthday.
incredible.
What? Congestion pricing, there's no traffic.
Yeah, right.
Oh, really?
It's true. It's not on all streets and not on all
It
paths.
is
And there still
bad.
is traffic,
And they
it's just
closed the
less.
street also. 54th Street is closed, 1 block.
Oh, because of Trump? Because of
No,
the Trump
they-
Tower? Oh.
Doing work.
Oh. I was curious if 56th Street was closed
Yeah,
again.
55th Street, 1 block was closed also. You had a zigzag. Ruben is very good.
Yes, he is.
Can I note also, just for the purposes of the HFA, AHC, and HTFC boards, so we've been joined now by Director Miller. Can I get your vote in the affirmative?
Yes.
First, second, aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Yes.
say present first?
Sure. Also with respect to MBBA and TSFC.
Aye.
All right, so, okay.
Go back to,
So we're going to open the SONYMA meetings now because we have a quorum for SONYMA, and then we can do the president's report?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
great.
Okay, all right. We will get his vote when he arrives as well. So to open the meeting of the SONYMA board, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting. Motion. And Vice Chair?
Second, so moved. Sorry, I was away with my mind. Is that right? Second?
Yes, or second from.
Second.
Thank you. I'll now ask for individual votes from each member of the SONYMA board, starting with Vice Chair Wisnauskas.
Aye.
Mr. Olzak?
Aye.
Mr. Freeman? Professor Ford is not with us just yet. We'll get him. Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
And Ms. Miller. Thank you. To open the meeting of the SONYMA Audit Committee, I'll ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting. Vice Chair, just a motion.
Motion.
Ms. Miller, second.
So moved.
For the individual votes of each audit committee member will accept the previous votes of Vice Chair Wisnauskas, Mr. Olzak, and Ms. Miller. To open this meetings of the SONYMA Governance Committee and the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee, ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting. Motion, Vice Chair.
Aye. Motion.
Yes, that's it. And Mr. Olzak, a second.
Second.
Thank you. For the individual votes of each committee member will accept the previous votes of Vice Chair Wisnauskas, Mr. Olzak, and Mr. Olzak. The meetings of the SONYMA board and the respective committees are now officially open.
Okay, so I'll turn things over to President Wisnauskas for her president's report.
Great, thank you. Good morning, everybody. A lot has, happy 2025, Happy New Year. I think maybe you can go all the way to the end of January with that, I don't know. A lot has happened since the last time we met. The governor delivered her State of the State. We have a new president in the White House. The executive budget was released on Tuesday. I'm going to provide a few updates on some of those things. So the governor, as I'm sure you saw in her State of the State address, included significant actions to build on her commitment to address the housing shortage and increase affordability generally for New Yorkers. While the economy has grown and we continue to add jobs, there's really far too many people across the state who are struggling. She did a lot of sort of work in the fall, as folks may have seen, and came out with a series of proposals, including really getting money into New Yorkers' pockets. There's more than 200 proposals in the State of the State that will drive down costs and improve the quality of life for New Yorkers, including inflation reduction checks, middle-class tax cuts, expanding the child tax credit, really exciting things from my perspective around universal child care, free lunch for students in schools, funding for pregnant women to go to doctor's appointments. Not sure why we need to still be doing that in 2025, but we do. New policies aimed at enhancing resources for families such as universal free schools. Oh, and a very cool initiative called Unplug and Play to try to get kids off their phones and active. I'm sure folks have also seen an initiative to get require schools to have kids putting their phones away from bell to bell, as it's called, along with funding from the state for schools to be able to do that. Lots of investments in public safety, especially around the subway. I'm sure people saw around having people on the subway overnight. A focus on healthcare, mental health care, funding for climate, especially in a moment where that funding is somewhat at risk. A lot of funding coming out of the state government for meeting our climate goals. So a lot of stuff. Parochially, obviously, on our housing stuff, we have a great package of things this year. There are sort of three thematic buckets that those fall into. One is around creating and supporting homeownership. The second one is around providing more tools for localities, which we have talked about in prior years and is here again. And then the third sort of bucket is around access to affordable housing. So I'll just sort of tick through a couple things in those buckets. Around homeownership, funding for starter home innovation in that sort of field and really trying to get at more production of homes for people to buy around the state. Funding for down payment assistance, which is exciting. And then lastly, something that was somewhat a bit in the news because it was announced prior to State of the State, but an effort to reduce the ability of institutional investors to buy single-family homes across the state. So there's a couple things in there. The one that people probably most read about was a delay of institutional sort of investors not being able to buy for the first 75 days that a home is on the market, to give sort of people level the playing field, give people access to being able to buy homes in the state. The second bucket, which is around providing tools to local governments, includes some additional funding for the pro-housing communities, which folks have seen. Some of that is capital for infrastructure, but also some technical assistance dollars to really help localities who have paper zoning maps and sort of paper building permits, and trying to give them funding that's very hard for them to get access to. We're very excited. We're going to also launch the first mixed income revolving loan fund. So this is sort of on this notion that there are projects that are kind of stalled out given where interest rates are, and we could go in and provide low interest rate construction funding to get those projects spurred. Certainly there's a lot of job growth around the state. We talk a lot about Micron, but in places like that, obviously we are very focused on making sure that housing production, rental, home ownership across the board can start happening so that it's there in time for when the jobs are all in place. We're also going to double the state low-income housing credit. So we see a lot of SLIC coming through these deals. So I'm really excited to be able to have that happen and for us to spend it. The last one around access, a couple highlights there. As folks may have seen, a law preventing the algorithm that has been sort of talked about nationally, that landlords were using to drive up rents for renters. We have some rent tax relief for Mitchell Lamas, some security deposit relief for rent-regulated tenants, some funding for affordable housing owners to help do risk mitigation, to help drive down their insurance costs. So a lot, I mean, I could sort of go on for a long time, but I'll sort of stop there on the there's some farm worker housing money, there's some resiliency dollars, there's a lot of stuff in the budget for housing. And so we're really excited. We have, I don't know, 75 days, Jesse? I don't know, when do we get to the end of March? Something like that, yeah. So we will.
Soon.
So we will be, I will come back, I'll talk about this later, but in the end of February, I'll do my budget testimony. And then the legislative houses will come out with their budgets in early March. And then the fund will really begin, where we really begin to talk about what actually ends up in the budget across all these different topics. So we're in our, in our busy time. With that, I guess I would also want to comment on the incoming presidential administration. We have been working very closely with the governor's team on the EOs that came out on things we have just sort of generally been concerned about from the prior administration's proposals. As we just saw on the HTFC proposals, we have a lot of CDBG funding, really interesting small businesses and demolition of blight across the state. We have home dollars going in to build homes across the state. We didn't get any weatherization this month, but we see weatherization dollars that come from the Department of Energy coming through here. Section 8, we run a 40,000 unit voucher program. We manage a 100,000 unit project-based Section 8 portfolio across the state. So we remain very concerned about sort of kind of HUD budget parochially. We remain concerned and are watching as we get into, I think they're calling it the Super Bowl of tax or something like that. But as we get into the Trump tax cuts time, what that's going to mean for federal low-income housing tax credits, opportunity zones, new markets tax credits, all these things that we see coming through here and beyond. And obviously in the wake of proposals around, removing efforts around DEI, around mixed status families, we sort of remain very concerned and working closely on sort of strategies, both here with the governor's office, with the city, on ways that we can help mitigate the impact of those things for our portfolio, for housing generally, for New Yorkers generally. I didn't have like a happy thought to end with on that, but I'll just say
Golden age.
There's what's that?
The golden age.
And we're in the golden age, yes. So with that, I will pause and turn back to Steve. Thanks.
One question, Ruth Ann. In terms of, obviously, NCSHA brings together a lot of state agencies from a variety of political environments across the country. A lot of these things are not just impacting New York and California, but these are vital dollars in other states.
Yeah.
Are other executive directors at other agencies and NCSHA coordinating and messaging and the importance of a lot of these programs?
Yeah, I would say very much so. And the other, this should have been my happy thought at the end. The HUD secretary's hearing, which I'm sure people didn't watch, but there was a lot of discussion in his hearing about housing supply and cutting regulation, and we have not done a good job producing enough housing, that homelessness is at a rate that it should not be, and that really is HUD's sort of bailiwick, and how do they, have efforts to help that. So I do think there are a lot of themes in those discussions that aren't around sort of the, that overlap with the work that we're doing, and we really, obviously are very supply focused right now in the state, and so yes, we definitely are coordinating both NCSHA, the National Governors Association. I'm sitting on this federal task force that is a bipartisan effort to provide recommendations to the new administration. So there is certainly a lot of it. I think it's so early right now to see where we're going to be, but
NCSHA is coordinating a board chair call among all the, and I had messaged them back to see if that was something they would open up to just all board members. So if that happens, I'll certainly share that. They're a good resource.
And that's important because I think board chairs and like these are people that have ears of a lot of people, which I think is really important.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. And there's obviously also an FHA commissioner, Bill Pulte. So there are people who are housing supply focused, which I think is good. Yes.
Glad to see the governor is doing something to inhibit institutional investors buying single-family homes, because that has driven up the price significantly in the last downturn it did.
And we are not as impacted here as the South is. I mean, it was really, but we could be, and it's good to sort of get out ahead of it. And
yeah, we don't know what the economy is going to be doing in the next 4 years.
For sure.
Last night, the president, very late in the afternoon, actually, I think it was like 5 o'clock or so, issued an executive order on DEI, firing all federal employees, etc. Is that going to impact us, or it's too soon for us to know?
I think very parochially. I mean, we are obviously still New York State, and we're still HCR, and we will still continue all the work we do. I think we don't know if it will have other impacts, sort of as it relates to like, one of the things that has been said, and this has been said for congestion pricing and other things, is they can't really change what we can do, but they can certainly limit funding. Yeah. So I think those are all good questions that we don't know yet, but we will continue to. We are having a lot of conversations internally about it.
Great. Okay, we're going to move forward with the Audit and Governance Committee agenda. We'll take up the agenda for Audit Committee first. The first item is the adoption of the relevant sections.
Why do they need a laptop for you? So I can read the,
adoption of the relevant sections of the consolidated minutes listed in the agenda, which should be deemed approved absent corrections. Item 2, fiscal 2024 financial statements. Ted Podest, CFO, will present this item.
Hi, Ted.
Good morning, Ted.
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Excellent. So
Morning, Ted.
we're going to have, I just want to take you through this and just to let you know that this is a summary. It's put together by almost every unit. But when you read the financial statements or you see how thick just the HFA is, it's 102 pages. We welcome any questions now because these are highlights, but as you go through the material, and I don't know how you could do it in 7 days, but like if you have questions, whether it's tomorrow, next month, just contact me with any questions as you go through the material, whether it's on, how we do pensions, or there's a ton of notes in here. So, great. We're going to kick it off with our distinguished Deputy CFO, Darryl, taking us through the financial statements.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm going to start on page 3. It reads HFA financial statement takeaways. As you know, HFA has had a positive impact on New York State's affordable housing production and availability. HFA's net position went up by about $243 million. The net position is basically a summation of the asset plus deferred outflows minus liabilities and deferred inflows for the fiscal year. It's basically a measure of the agency's liquidity. Some of the financial highlights: the total outstanding bonds were $18.7 million, billion. 1.2 billion of new bonds were issued. There's $16.9 billion of mortgage loans receivable, and we collected $75.3 million from fees. It's notable to realize that HFA is, as you know, a conduit debt issuer, and typically the bonds and the mortgage receivables are in parity with one another. But it's not going to be 100% parity, because when we issue bonds and do a closing, we don't send out all the proceeds right away. Some of the money is held and it's requisitioned over time. That piece that's held is typically invested by the CFA account in treasury bills, and it'll be requisitioned during the construction period. So that's why you'll see a slight difference between the actual mortgages that are outstanding and the bonds that are on our books. Just in terms of fees, HFA obviously is not a for-profit organization. We've tried to build affordable housing, provide affordable housing, but we do assess fees to fund our administrative costs. The $75 million is primarily made up of fees that we assess during closing. We have a 2% bond closing fee, so on a $100 million closing, there will be a $2 million fee. We also assess 25 basis points on the mortgage servicing costs. And then there's also a tax monitoring fee that's usually assessed when a bond pays off, when a project pays off, and that's typically between $8,000 and $10,000 per year. Any questions on that slide?
We also just put it for reference, whether it was an increase or decrease from the prior year.
Okay, for SONYMA basically has two lines of business, as you know, the single family and the MIF. Its net position went up by about $201 million. That increase is primarily a result of earned spread and also the mortgage recording tax that the MIF collects. The total outstanding bonds for SONYMA were $3.1 billion. There was $404 million in new bonds issued, and there's $3.3 billion in outstanding mortgage loan receivable. Okay. And typically the spread funds the operations, the administrative operations for SONYMA. Moving on to the next page, the MBBA and TSFC financial statement takeaways. MBBA's net position increased by $1.6 million. This increase is a function of a couple of things: the bond premium and amortization over time, and also there was an adjustment to the payable to HFA. The Tobacco Settlement Corporation received TSRs of $327 million and paid general expenses to HFA of $196,000. There was also a transfer to the New York State Department of Health as directed by DOB to help defray the state's Medicaid costs. That transfer was $62 million. The excess funds that remain on account with TSFC are typically invested in treasury bills. MBBA financial highlights: $26.1 million outstanding of bonds. No new bonds issued this fiscal period. The last refunding was $7.4 million in 2022 for the city of Buffalo. And MBBA collected $39,000 in fees. TSFC, all its outstanding bonds have been redeemed in 2017. TSR payments continue to be received and due and payable to the state in perpetuity. And I already mentioned the 327. So those are the highlights for MBBA and TSFC. Are there any questions on those slides? Okay, let's continue with.
Yeah, so thank you, Dale. That was great. So Mark is going to come up and take us through the municipal bond market overview, along with the Mark, you handle a few things: liquidity and swaps, and HFA and overview. Perfect.
Sure.
Darryl.
Good morning, everyone. We'll wanted to do a municipal bond market overview. So our bond activities, issuing debt, is one of the big engines for all of our activities for HFA and SONYMA. So wanted to give some context of how that market is performing. So we know how the engine is well oiled or not. So on this page here, overall municipal bond issuance in calendar 2024, you'll see that it was up quite a bit from year over year from 2023, so up by 32%. In that market is broken down, the tax-exempt market and the taxable market. Tax-exempt issuance really drove the overall increase in the market with a 35% year-over-year volume increase, and taxable issuance decreased slightly by 4%. I did want to put that volume in context with rates. Interest rates are a key driver for all of our activity, mortgages and borrowing in the bond market. And so you'll see on the chart to the right, the bars represent the range of interest rates for 10-year treasuries for those various calendar years. And we see in 2022, there was a large range and with a very high maximum rate of 425 compared to the max 10-year rate in 2021 of 174. So big increase there. In 2023, went up even more. And last year, we've seen rates start to abate a little bit, although at year end, the 10-year Treasury was still higher than at the beginning of the year. We see that it was sort of within the range and below the peak of the year. So we're finally seeing a little bit of relief, but we'll have to see how things go going forward. If we go to the next slide, and any questions before I move on? If we go to the next slide, focusing in on municipal bond issuance specifically for the housing sector, similar story in terms of increased volume, albeit not as much as the overall market. The housing municipal bond issuance increased 7% year over year, and that was led by single family issuance with an increase of 8.3%. But in multifamily, there was also an increase of just under 6%. So what does this all mean? The bottom line is we've seen increased volumes both in the overall municipal bond market and specifically in the housing municipal bond market, which means the door is open to us to access those markets and borrow efficiently. So that bodes well for our activities. And speaking of our activities, if we go to the next slide.
Mark, just a quick question.
Oh, sure.
Is there, so looking at the rate increase in particular, is there a correlation between the rate increase and the use of subsidy to make up the difference? I mean, it doesn't look like the volume has been impacted. I'm wondering how the use of our subsidy is impacted by that.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say there's a strict correlation, because what we do going into and when we're talking about subsidy, we're talking about the HFA side of the house here. When we go into each bond transaction for our open resolution or now personal income tax bonds, but to fund our 100% affordable projects, we set the mortgage rates that we are giving to the borrowers. And we set that mortgage rate based on our expectation of what interest rates are in the bond market. So what you will have seen is over time, and so in 2022, we saw that first big increase in interest rates. You'll also see a parallel increase in the mortgage rates that we charge our borrowers. So on the next slide, speaking of our particular activity, the chart on the left shows the volume of our bond issuance each year, each fiscal year, going back to 2020. You'll see in 2024, we had an increase over 2023. That was mostly driven by a little bit more volume on the HFA side. On the SONYMA side, it looks like the SONYMA issuance doubled, but that's really just a fiscal year timing issue. So if you see the $656 million of SONYMA issuance in 2022 versus the $275 in 2023, we did a deal later in calendar 2022 that. Or actually earlier, that otherwise would have been in 2023. So we've had pretty flat issuance for SONYMA the past three calendar years. On the HFA side, we did have some remarketings and refinancings in the public market of some 80/20 deals, so that increased volume a little bit. The chart on the right shows that we are not only are we active sort of in our own little bubble here, but relative to our peers, we were the number 2 issuer of housing bonds by volume of all the different housing entities that are out there. We were only bested by our colleagues downtown, but as you can imagine, their portfolio is large, and we help the city in their endeavors as well. I think, Commissioner, you were curious about Illinois and California, so.
I didn't like Illinois inching up so
Yes.
close behind us.
Yes. So we confirmed that the Illinois volume was mostly single-family volume, and so we know in terms of what we do, single-family is a little different than other states, and so that accounts for most of the difference in Illinois' activity there, and the lack of California on this chart. California does most of its housing issuance through 2 entities. Those 2 entities together issued about $1.3 billion, which would put them about number 8 on this chart here. But that's why you don't see them show up here.
There's also right now a movement in California to actually consolidate a lot of the issuance. It's a much more fragmented market in terms of that. A lot of local issuance, a lot of this.
Yeah.
But that's why there's a movement as we speak to consolidate a lot of the California work around housing.
Yeah, and absolutely. And so those 2 entities that I was talking about, one is a conduit entity called the California Municipal Agency, and they do all sorts of bond issues, not just for housing. And so half of the California housing volume was done through that entity. So if we move on to the next slide, if there are no other questions there. Just to highlight some accomplishments of our bond programs last year. Last year, we issued just under $400 million of personal income tax bonds for the calendar year to help meet our targets on the 100% affordable side. It's the first time we've issued personal income tax bonds for that particular portfolio. We did it twice. There was great market reception. There was a little feedback on the phone. There was great market. I'm sorry.
Okay.
If you're speaking, you could mute your. So thank you.
Yeah, so there was great market reception for those transactions. We expect to be back to doing our affordable housing revenue bonds in our next transaction in March. But the market received it well, and it really showed that we have a lot of flexibility to be able to fund our mission. We maintain high ratings on the affordable housing revenue bonds of AA2 from Moody's. AA category is the second highest category of rating, so very strong there. We talked about being the number 2 overall housing issuer on the multifamily side. We were also the number 2 multifamily housing issuer. We were very active in the market, and we continue to label our bonds as sustainability bonds. So when you label bonds as sustainability bonds, it means that the proceeds of those bonds fund projects that are both green in nature, and so we have some of the highest standards, green standards of all the states out there, which we're very proud of. And then also the proceeds have to go to something that's social in nature, and by definition, inherently funding affordable units has a social aspect. So we continue to be able to label our bonds as sustainability bonds, and we try to optimize the use of volume cap, that very dear resource, which is allocated by population, by a formula. And so we've done that by doing recycling, which allows us to take bonds that have been redeemed that were volume cap bonds, and then we can recycle that capacity to do new volume cap bonds. And we actually share this recycling with our colleagues downtown, and it's been a very fruitful program for both HFA and HTC in service of developing affordable housing in the city. On the Sunny Mae side, also very high ratings, AA1 from Moody's, low delinquency rates in our mortgage portfolio, which is good. And we issue those bonds with a social bond label, which we're proud of. And we try to conserve volume cap there by doing what we call replacement refunding. So a similar process, taking monies that have come in to pay down principal, we can then recycle that again. So we're running the engine well for our programs for both HFA and Sunny Mae. Any questions before we move on to the next section?
Oh, go ahead.
I just had a quick question.
Sure.
With respect to the sustainability bonds, do you use a third party like a Sustainalytics or something to give you that?
Well, the person sitting to your left can tell you all about that as he put that in place. So when we started, we did use Sustainalytics as a third party. So we have bonds that had the benefit of review by Sustainalytics. The market has adopted our programs fairly well, and so we do what's called self-designate these days. Especially on the HFA side, our standards are very high, and so we didn't see the need to continue with that. But any bonds that were issued and received climate certification from the Climate Bond Institute, we do periodic reporting, and so we do work with Sustainalytics or some other entity for the updated reporting on that.
Does the green get you better pricing or just more availability to more investors?
Yeah, so I think the better pricing empirical data is limited, but what we have seen is in situations where it's a tough market, you do broaden your investor audience, and so it's good to have. There's good to have there. There are certain funds that are very keen on buying labeled bonds, so might as well have as broad an audience as possible.
The one thing to add to that is, in fact, what this agency does better than virtually anyone is disclose data around what they're actually financing. Because a lot of investors, actually the first year that we rolled out the sustainable bond program, we added 40 new institutional investors to the program. And to Mark's point, it's really on the sustainable investors will buy sometimes with more duration, so long end of the curve to the volatility in the market, it adds that extra investor. But I think in showcasing data, a lot of investors do their own research, but they were looking, when we rolled out that program, we actually did a listening tour with institutional investors to say, what data points do you want to see? So to the extent that there's a backlash from ESG, we don't really care, because what we're really doing is showcasing the environmental review, the process of the units that we're financing, the subsidy programs that you incorporate to show that we're meeting the needs, and the high quality building standards that we're showcasing. So that's why it's been, I think, it's been a great program in terms of allowing access.
Yes, and to Director McIntyre's point there, long before ESG was in vogue and now going out of vogue, better disclosure was something that the market always demanded. And I think that the point is dead on, that by going the labeled route, it really made us take a look at what it is that we were disclosing, and our disclosure is just better now.
Thank you.
Mark, one question on the Sunny Mae side. The other indenture, obviously the AAA indenture that's sort of sitting there in terms of resource to finance interesting things and support interesting initiatives. It's not listed here, but just curious, thinking there was no activity in that indenture, right, the last year, or?
No new bond activity.
Okay.
Obviously, the bonds are paying down, and so the asset parity ratio there is getting much better. We have done some releases from that indenture to support Sunny Mae programs, and I know the Sunny Mae program team continues to look at uses for that built up wealth.
But uttering the chairman's comments earlier, it's great to see the fiscal health, and I think a lot of it has to do with sort of working really hard in hard markets to make this stuff work. So that's great.
Yeah, I don't know if this is an appropriate question or not, but are there any outstanding bonds that could possibly be candidates for refundings?
Yeah, so we have our advisors look periodically at what we would call economic refunding candidates and opportunities. And unfortunately, the rate environment we're in right now, there are not any that would warrant doing anything right now. So, but we keep a close eye on that. But that's a great question. Thank you.
But and Mark will get into actually on the HFA side, we actually did some of the first restructurings of the HFA side many years when interest rates were very low. And in fact, we put on the book 25-year swaps at 85 basis points that are taxable. So it's kind of just generating a lot of fee revenue, which I think has been, you know, really helpful in some of this stuff. So I think it's very proactive always on it. So
yes, absolutely. I will try and get through these next sections quickly. I know there's a lot on the agenda today, but if we go to the next section on liquidity and swaps, in service of trying to keep our debt costs manageable, and I don't know, whoever's controlling the deck, if we can roll forward. Okay. All right. Well, we are on the page that says HFA variable rate debt liquidity and swaps. So here we go. So if we go to the next page. So when we do variable rate debt, we do variable rate debt to try and manage our interest rate costs. That variable rate debt necessitates backing from a financial institution, and so we call those liquidity providers. It's good to have a variety of liquidity providers in a portfolio. So on the HFA side, we have 3 such providers. They're all in the single A category or higher, so high credit quality. So we feel very comfortable with that portfolio of providers. And then when issuing variable rate debt, we like to manage the interest rate risk on that debt. And so we often will enter into interest rate swaps where we change the exposure from floating to fixed. But the net result of that is an interest rate that is lower than what we otherwise get by doing traditional fixed rate. And as Director McIntyre just mentioned, in this portfolio are some swaps that are at a very, very low fixed interest rate, below 1%, which is good. So on the swap provider side, we have 2 swap providers for HFA, both in the AA category. So we feel like our risk is sufficiently managed there. On the SONYMA side, if we go to the next slide, similar story, albeit we have a larger variable rate debt portfolio there. And so on the SONYMA side, we have 5 different liquidity providers. Again, all of them are single A or above in ratings. And on the swap side, we have 4 providers, all AA or higher there. So the portfolio is sound and being managed appropriately. So if we go to the next section, we'll just give a quick update on what has been financed on the HFA side with our bonds. And so the Housing Finance Agency update slide. So here you'll see that we sold $1.2 billion of bonds in fiscal 2024. That was through the Affordable Housing Revenue Bond Program, the Personal Income Tax Bond Program, and then also some directly purchased bonds, or standalones, what we would call that. And that funded just under 4,300 units in 22 different projects. And you can see in both the table and the map that those units and projects were all around the state. And so notably, outside of New York City, we had some significant activity, which is good. And then our overall program, we have 18.7 billion of HFA bonds outstanding, 16.9 billion of mortgages, and as the deputy CFO mentioned in his comments, we also have cash and investments. And so those cash and investments plus the mortgages, we have more assets than liabilities in our bond program, which puts us in good stead. Then if we go to the next page, we just show the units and projects over time. We financed more projects last year than the year prior. Well, one more project than the year prior, but certainly a number more affordable units. So we continue to have some robust activity. And then the last slide in this section just really gives a sense of the growth of the bond program under the Affordable Housing Revenue Bond Program, which started in 2007. But if we look back to 2010, there was 436 million of bonds outstanding. And then as of last year, we had about 7.3 billion of bonds outstanding. So significant growth. We should not fear having that much debt outstanding, because behind that debt are a lot of mortgages and mortgage receivables and a lot of spread. So as that debt grows, our net position has been growing, and the spread that we earn on the program that we can use in service of the mission has grown as well.
That's great. Thank you, Mark. That was fantastic.
Thanks, Mark.
Absolutely. All right, Terrell Ford. There she is. Fantastic.
Good morning, everyone. Could I ask a question? It's B from Syracuse. I always like the maps because I get to see the geographic diversity of our work. I expect that with the changes that Micron is bringing, that the Central New York region will have more investment from the HFA agency in the years to come. And then the other part of my question is, why the big gap between Rochester and Albany in terms of investment? Is there a particular reason?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's a little hard because this is sort of a partial picture of our work. The HFA bond projects tend to be larger. And so on the HTFC side, on the 9% deals, you see kind of the 100 unit or less deals, and you certainly see much more geographic distribution. If we overlaid obviously this is HFA's financial, so it doesn't reflect HTFC. The other thing I would say is, as you know, we have a lot of pent up projects in Syracuse that we would have liked to have closed last year. We are pushing to close this year. There's a lot of sort of momentum there. But so I do think you'll see, certainly with the large Syracuse Housing Authority project and all the Micron stuff, much more activity to come there. But to my former point, I think a lot of the smaller projects
Looks like it's on.
It's on.
Are more Syracuse based.
Yeah, I assumed as much, but I just wanted to make sure I asked the question. Thank you.
Yeah, no. Fair observation, criticism.
So this doesn't address B's point, but there are two deals right in the middle that are labeled as New York County, which are actually Erie County. Francis John and
Oh, yeah. Noted.
But yeah, I think Ruthan's point is a good one. It's largely the bigger deals, but there is diversity among them.
The Arkville deal isn't on there, because a lot of those small towns are doing, it's just much smaller projects.
Yeah. More contextual, right?
Yeah.
Not smaller in a bad way, just more contextual.
Yeah.
All right, Darrell, take it away.
Okay. We're going to review the SONYMA single family program. And just for a little background or reminders, the program offers financing for owner occupied first-time homebuyers or veterans, or those investing in a target area. Or under our program, we offer two primary programs. Our Achieve the Dream program, which is for households at or below 80% AMI, and our low interest rate program, which is for households above 80% AMI, goes to about 120, 125. And we have a somewhat limited program, that's done in partnership with Habitat for Humanity, which offers those applicants 2% mortgages. And so in 2024, bear with me while I turn the page, SONYMA purchased 1,694 first mortgages, and that's on par with 2023 at 1,701. And that's despite continuing difficult market conditions. Our Achieve the Dream program, again, for households below 80% AMI, we had 1,351 loans all in, totaling $286 million. Our Habitat for Humanity program, which is capped at around $5 million a year, we had 36 loans. Again, those are 2% mortgages. And our low interest program for the higher income households, we had 307 loans totaling $108 million. And as you can see from the chart on the right, the affordability trends, the average loan amount has remained fairly consistent at $237,000. But as you can see, the average monthly payment, because of the rising interest rate, has increased significantly, over $500. So to purchase the same sort of home is really more challenging for our borrowers. And one of the ways that we have tried to address that is in 2024, we provided $19.9 million in down payment assistance, and that's an 80% increase in terms of dollars from the previous year. And about 70% of our loans are combined with down payment assistance. When we consider that our buyers are some of the most at risk or the most challenged, we're really proud that 97.42% of our loans are current, and that is a performance that is better than the state average. Great. If there are no questions, I'll go on to the next slide. And just to put a highlight on some of our priorities, our homeownership program has a priority of lending to low-income households, and so 73% of our loans in 2023 were made to households at 80% AMI or below. And as you can see, that's fairly in line with what we've done historically between 2022 and 2023, and that's despite raising costs for our home buyers. Another priority that we have is serving minority households, and approximately 41% of our loan volume was made to minority households, and that is in line with the trend upward that we've had through our initiatives. We've got special purpose credit programs that support minority households in terms of their home buying. And as always, we try to lend in federally designated poverty areas or target areas, and about 15% of our volume is in those areas. If there are no questions, I'll go on to the next one. And so just a little more detail about our initiatives. One of our key initiatives has been a program called Credit is Due, and this program is meant to address the disparities in mortgage lending to minority households. It is done through federal regulation that allows lenders who participate in this and develop this program to limit their lending or provide special credit options for minority households. Since we've launched this program, the way the SONYMA supports it is that we offer the lenders that develop these programs additional down payment assistance of up to $30,000. And for the home buyers, we have an interest rate reduction for those who need it. So if our prevailing rate is 6.5%, these households that are eligible for this program can get a mortgage at 4.5% if they need it. It is need-based. And so since we've launched the program, which is really an evolution from a prior initiative called Give Us Credit, we have approximately 8 lenders that participate in this program, and it continues to be a greater part of our volume. And I skipped something there. We also offer alternative underwriting, so which means we've made modifications in our credit evaluation to capture sound financial management that perhaps may not be shown in just a credit score. If there are no questions, I go on to the next initiative, which is...
Real quick, I think
Sure.
it's very early, obviously, but I think it's really important to publish the results on performance of these loans over time, because I think like showing that we can meet the need of the community, that we can reach people who have been historically left out through this type of underwriting, which has excluded them historically, I think is an important thing to showcase from the agency's perspective. So I just, as you guys learn more on the performance of this stuff, I think it's a really important thing to highlight from like a national perspective.
Absolutely, and so we continue to monitor it.
Yeah.
As you said, it's been about less than 5 years, and all of these loans are performing as of today.
Exactly, it's like if you can do it different, and the traditional market is discriminated, but we're showing that you can actually undo some of that with a different type of underwriting. I think it's a really powerful message.
Yes.
Can you give us a little bit of an example of the kinds of changes that you made in underwriting to adjust for this?
Yeah, so we made a total of 38 differences in our traditional credit underwriting. One is allowing more cash on hand, right? Some immigrant communities, they perhaps don't trust the banking system, right? My uncle kept a box of cash, in a shoebox under the bed. And so we, under our traditional underwriting, we only allowed a certain amount, and so we allowed for greater amount under this underwriting. Additionally, we put more recognition to employment differences, or like the gig economy, understanding that people may have 2-3 jobs or need to transition differently. Also started defining the family differently, right? Today, people are not necessarily in the nuclear family, right? So who we count in your household and how they contribute, perhaps you've got 2-3 generations in a house. Right? For some communities, that's much more common. And so we allowed perhaps, Uncle Peter, who's in the attic, right? His contribution, right, can be included in the underwriting. So we started with our Give Us Credit alternative underwriting program about 2-3 years, and we took 2-3 years ago, where we took the lessons from that underwriting to see what people needed and have rolled it into Credit is Due.
Very interesting. That's very good. And the default on these loans is not.
So it is very early. So I don't want to sort of jinx anything, yes. Right? But when we looked at during the COVID crisis whether any of these loans had performed worse, absolutely not. And so it is still quite early. So I don't want to risk anything. So they're all about less than 5 years old. But they are all performing at this point in time.
That's great. Maybe we can get some other states to adopt similar programs.
Yes, I hope so. But we continue to evolve as we see a need.
Does New York City do this also?
So they don't necessarily have an alternative credit program that I am aware of. Although I will say that industry-wide, and I perhaps don't believe I'm overstating that having SONYMA, include alternative underwriting. We have found that our mortgage insuring partner, Enact, have incorporated some of our alternative credit guidelines into their standard. And so have our some of our participating lenders, right? So in their portfolio product. So I do think that there is a trend to recognize that perhaps the traditional model isn't serving everyone. Right. And in an odd way, because the market is so challenged right now, so many lenders are like scraping to find customers. They're like, okay, maybe let's try this. But I'm not aware of New York City having a specific program.
Well, they don't do single-family mortgage.
They don't do this that we do,
HTFC
yeah.
doesn't do that, yeah. So it would just be us from a issuer perspective.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
$10,000 cash in hand limit has been increased. Do you know what amount?
So it is based on the income that they declare, right? So they're allowed to have up to 2 months of their declared income on hand, right? So somebody who perhaps is, a taxi driver might have more cash on hand. It makes more sense. And so rather than setting an arbitrary number, we're basing on what they have told us is their monthly income.
And that's just based on 2 months of income?
No, they're allowed to have 2 months of cash towards the transaction. Whereas before, we were capped at $5,000, which was, in banking, if you deposit more than $5,000 in cash, it has to be reported to the IRS. So what we've said to our home buyers is that if they have a percentage of what they have declared as their monthly income in cash, that is entirely reasonable.
What dictates the needs on the 33% decrease as far as need for the interest rate to drop?
So it is a waterfall. So if a loan is submitted at the prevailing rate of 6.5%, and after underwriting, the household does not qualify at our standard debt to income ratio, which is 45%, then we lower the interest rate 25 basis points. And then we say, do they qualify now? If they do, then they get that rate that's only a 25 basis point reduction. If they need a further interest rate reduction to qualify, we lower it again. This way, we're only reducing because it's quite costly actually to do this. We're only lowering the rate as much as we need to get them to qualify according to our debt to income ratios.
Interesting.
Any other questions? No? Okay. And so another initiative that we had is our Down Payment Assistance Plus, Achieve the Dream. And that is open to all households at 60% AMI and below. So all over the state, folks that needed that those additional funds, which is twice what we normally allow. So SONYMA standard down payment assistance is $15,000, and with this program, we increase that to $30,000 for those low-income households. Also, in late 2024, we introduced our manufactured home loan program. It is still quite new, but it is to offer home buyers in what is typically rural areas financing to purchase manufactured housing units that they are siting in communities. We are still looking to get more lenders to participate in that. It's very new, but we're very excited about the opportunity for those home buyers and being able to give them an option. In the typical market right now, when compared to SONYMA's rates, those same home buyers are paying 4% more in interest than this typical SONYMA interest rate. So we think that this could be a game changer for those home buyers.
That's because of the lease land?
Yeah.
Yes. So when these home buyers, they don't own the land, they are renting a lot in a community, a park. And when we look at the financing that is available for these home buyers, because it's not a mortgage, so it has less regulation, 10% is common, 12% interest is common. And so there are a lot of sort of predatory actors in this market. And we're hoping by giving these home buyers an option, we can be a game changer and perhaps apply some downward pressure.
Exciting.
All right, so very exciting. And as always, one of the initiatives that we made in 2024 is to expand the reach of the program by creating greater awareness. We have made concerted efforts to reach out to community actors, nonprofits, educational institutions, and partner with those so that SONYMA is a presence in the community. And so folks who could benefit the most are aware of what is available to them. Because SONYMA doesn't lend directly to home buyers, there's always a lender in between. Sometimes the lender is not always putting the SONYMA program as the first choice. They make less money doing the SONYMA program than they do some of the other programs. So we have made a concerted effort to make sure that the consumer and the potential home buyer knows what's out there, and with that information, they can make better choices. Any other questions? Yes.
Severe minority home buyers in federal designated high areas, do they also take advantage of the repayment of the down payment if they're there for 10 years?
So all of our down payment assistance at this time is forgiven if they stay in the home for 10 years. So whether they're in a target area or not, as long as they stay in the home as for their primary residence, it is forgiven.
How is that paid out?
So at the time of closing, the funds for the down payment, it's applied to either down payment or closing costs or single premium MI, and it is filed as a second lien on the home. And every month that they are in the home, 1/120th of the recapture fee or potential recapture fee that a home buyer would have to pay back should they not remain in the home is reduced. So at the end of the 10 years, if they've stayed there, SONYMA releases the lien so that they don't have to make any payments. And so none of our down payment assistance programs, whether the specialized ones or our standard, there is no monthly payment for the home buyer.
Thank you, John.
Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Great explanation. Thank you. All right, we're going to jump last but not least to the New York Mortgage Agency Mortgage Insurance Fund, Michael Friedman.
Good morning. The first slide is the mortgage recording tax, and it shows a fairly dramatic reduction from 22 to 23, 23 to 24. It's for the state fiscal year ending in March. So the fiscal year of 24, 9 months are actually in 23, 3 months are in 24. The good news is that despite the decline in the mortgage recording tax, we had adequate revenue to provide new commitments for every application we received from an insured lender. Back in the good old days, in 22 and 21, we had excess balance in the special account at the end of the fiscal year, which is due as a payable to the general fund, unless Article 7 legislation as part of the state budget process specifies that it goes to the Housing Trust Fund Corporation or the Homeless Housing Assistance Corporation, or HFA. The next slide shows insured lenders by loan amount. And it shows that HFA has remained fairly constant from 23 to 24, but there was a significant decline in both CPC and in HDC. I think due to high interest rates and high construction costs, there was simply less lending, fewer loans to insure. The next slide, which is by units rather than loan amount, shows that whereas in the prior slide, HDC was the second largest lender by loan amount, CPC is the second largest lender by units. And that is because CPC does rehabs rather than new construction, does loans upstate rather than the city, and generally does less expensive projects than HDC. Thank you.
Mike, has there been any sort of push, obviously, like capacity dropping, you're meeting it now, but like I know we've talked about in the past, like expanding and thinking about risk share and like spreading, like whether it's like back to back with the MIF, with the GSEs, or other ways to think about flexibility for the MIF in terms of making sure the capacity is available?
We really don't need it.
Okay.
We just don't need it. We do risk share with REMIC on HDC loans. We really don't need it. We have $2.4 billion in reserves.
Okay.
Adequate mortgage recording tax.
Okay.
We just don't need it.
Fair enough.
You don't need it.
Thank you.
Before I conclude, and we'll just check in with you, Lou Roberts, my partner on the audit, is going to come up and talk through the audit.
Great.
We're spending a lot of time with Lou's team. Great collaboration.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Great to hear about all the creative initiatives that you have going on. With respect to the audit, if I could draw your attention to page 1 behind the title page, this just lists out our deliverables, our opinions on the 4 agencies, as well as our report on compliance and internal control in accordance with government auditing standards, as well as our report on the compliance with the investment guidelines for public authorities in the state of New York. Page 2, just to give you a summary, we are in the final stages of our audit procedures, a couple wrap-up items left to go, but we are planning to issue our opinions on the 29th, and they will be unmodified opinions, which are clean audit opinions. There were no corrected misstatements or uncorrected misstatements that we identified as we were performing our audit procedures. We evaluated the entity level controls and other internal controls over the financial reporting aspect. We've met with people outside of the accounting department to get their opinions on internal controls, as well as made our fraud inquiries, so nothing came to our attention that we need to report. And we received great cooperation with those who we dealt with in conducting our audit. As a matter of fact, and speaking with my team, as this is my first year on the audit this year, we received the draft financial statements, as Ted had alluded to, very thick, earlier than we did last year. So that's a good indication that as you're working with your new systems that were implemented about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, the agency is getting more familiar with the functionality of it and able to produce the financial statement drafts in a more timelier manner. As I mentioned, still a few more open items. We have to complete our executive review over a couple final areas, but nothing significant that should preclude us from issuing on the 29th.
And that opinion will be provided separately.
Yeah, so what we do is we provide Ted and team with a PDF of our audit opinions, and that gets incorporated into the draft financial statements that you have. And that gets issued into the Paris system by the 29th.
You can circulate that to the
Yes,
board.
absolutely. Page 3 is a listing of the accounts that we evaluate as being significant to the agencies, except for TSFC, which doesn't have mortgages receivable or debt, but mortgages receivable, debt, investments. Those are the three largest accounts that you have that we spend a lot of time auditing, sending out confirmation. So this is consistent with the audit plan that we presented to the audit committee back in September, and we did not have any changes with respect to our audit plan procedures. And as I alluded to, we did not have any findings that we identified, no significant issues or any misstatements. Pages 4 through 6 are the required communications that we are required to present in accordance with our professional auditing standards. I won't go through each of these, but I'll just point out some highlights. As I mentioned, once we complete our procedures, we'll issue the clean opinions on the agency's financial statements. Our strategy was consistent with what we had communicated at our September meeting with you all. Management did not change any of their accounting policies during the year. Next page. There were no difficult or contentious subject matters that we needed to consult with as part of our professional practice. No significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control over financial reporting. Not aware of any fraud or non-compliance with laws and regulations. There were no significant unusual transactions that were identified.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Transfers to and from New York State and agencies of New York State. For like SONYMA, there was like $150-something thousand in transfers. Does that also include internal transfers or just the external transfers?
Any internal transfers also between the agencies. So there are servicing agreements between the agencies. So we look at that as well. Make sure that the activity throughout the year agrees amongst all the agencies, and then the amounts either payable or receivables agree to each other amongst the 4 agencies.
Okay. Because in one of the reports I saw $150-something thousand move, but I only saw 784 of it settle in another account.
And some of them might be to agencies outside of the 4 agencies. To the state of New York General Fund, I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
But we do test that activity. On page 6, we're not aware of any matters that would impair our independence. We don't perform any consulting engagements. We just perform the audits of the agencies, and we did not have any disagreements with management. And on the last page, use of third-party service providers, other than our commitment to the MWB participation. We don't use any outside service providers. So we use two firms to help us achieve our goal with MBBA participation. So that concludes my prepared remarks, and be happy to address any questions you might have.
Just one quick question. Just with respect to that last point, with respect to the firms that you work with, you had been, I believe, had been working with a firm which was minority owned, but the owner passed away. And so that firm is clearly not a minority owned firm anymore. Are you working with any minority owned firms at this point?
Are you talking about Mitchell and Titus, or we're not aware of?
So you're still working with Mitchell and Titus?
Yes. Yes.
Their grandfather in, I don't know how many years, but they're still grandfathered in for like 5 years, right?
I believe so.
Right, so thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Collaboration. Thanks, Ted. All right, just in concluding, I just want to, Mark said something that I believe the financial statements and the program summary, the engine is running well. But I do want to stress that if you have any questions, like it could be an hour, a day, a month, a week, through any of the financial statements that are in there, please give us a call. We'll follow back up and circulate the audit findings. And just want to say that from my standpoint, the fiscal health of the public authorities is both strong and stable, with good controls. And, I believe that everyone I deal with on a weekly or monthly basis keeps the HCR's mission to build, preserve, and protect affordable housing. So that's the summary here. If you have any questions for me, just let me know. Or
Thanks, Tim.
Just one thing, of course, we had our primary firm here, but do we have anyone from Mitchell Titus as well? Present?
Directly?
No, we didn't.
Not here, but
Yeah.
they were on site. They would come in on a few days a week to work with us.
So you understand my point then, I guess, which is why they couldn't be here, I guess is a question, or just wasn't, have they been here in the past? I guess I may have missed it in the past, but is that something that could happen in the future?
They're here working on the audit.
I understand.
I know, but you're saying at the board meeting directly. Okay, it's something we could look into, and bring them up.
Well, it was to look into it, just, you can do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now before the HFA, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC audit committees is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Okay, item 3, internal audit report on HCR project fund administration management compliance review. Hanim Babieva, VP internal audit, will present this.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So today I am presenting you 2 reports for your review and approval. First, this is the SONYMA servicer audit, Ulster Saving Bank. We performed the traditional review of that bank's performance with our portfolio. So it's a mid-sized bank for us, holding approximately 32 million of our portfolio, about like 350 loans. This bank is regulated as like a normal bank, and in addition to that, it's heavily audited recently, including their operational activity. So we relied on the results of that audits. In addition to that, we also took 10 loans from our portfolio that they serve, and we matched them against 3 main documents that we are usually referencing: SONYMA Servicer Guide, Seller's Guide, and Post-Closing Checklist. So we compared these 10 loans to that standards that being applied by SONYMA requirements. So all of them came out clean. So we don't have any specific recommendations for that bank, but we assess the healthiness of their portfolio and also the level of control that management applies to their operations, which was more than satisfactory. So this is my first report that I'm asking for your approval. If you have questions, I can address them.
Just in terms of the, you said another audit was performed by another entity. What entity who did that?
Unfortunately, I don't remember the name of the firm. It was not like a Big Four related firm, but they hired a third party to do the specific operational audit for them. So in order not to strongly overlap with that task that they recently went through, we were a little bit sensitive with them, but at the same time, they presented us the summary results of that review. So we tend to rely on that.
You said some of the results.
Yeah, that usually only summary results are being shared relevant to the part that we are auditing. This is one of our challenges, by the way, when we are dealing with the servicer banks. They tend not to give us the full, release of, internal control assessments, risk assessments. They only give us what is about their servicing functions, servicing operations, because it's applicable to us. And given the limited agreement that we have between us and them, we have a very limited clause that says SONYMA has an ability to request relevant information from the banks. So this clause that I'm suggesting to or change as a contract going forward or make an adjustment, and I'm suggesting it for quite a while. So I believe that SONYMA management is doing something about that, because when it's come to a classic form of relationship that was based on the agreement that was probably drafted several decades ago, we have limitations. Yeah, we have limitations requesting full disclosure of the control.
Okay, so you said you believe that's being discussed?
Yes, I believe that, because Alex was here when we started this discussion, and I believe that there was few attempts to improve that relationship with the banks, or by renewing the agreements, when the old agreement expires, they apply the new clause in the new agreements, or for the banks when we have already existing long-term agreement, they tend to issue an adjustment that will cover not only disclosure of the information to auditors, but also if they are hacked, if they are experiencing some challenges with our data, and they might expose our clients' data to unauthorized disclosure. Yeah, so they must report this to us. So we need to cover that aspect too.
So there's some reconfiguring of our relationship with the bank, and the bank again is?
Ulster Bank.
Ulster.
Yeah.
So, you
Yes.
jumped into the item 4.
Right. So we can close out item 4, and then we'll come back to item 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought we will do the SONYMA item first. Excuse
It's okay.
me.
No,
Yeah.
no worries.
So should I do the next?
Well, are we finished with Ulster? We can just close that out if we're finished with it. Are there any other questions?
So is it reasonable to say perhaps by the next board meeting, you can give us an update as to what's happening with this reconfiguration, I guess, of the relationship?
Absolutely. I will collect all the feedback from the legal and SONYMA and present it to you.
Thank you.
Is this also related to the M&T incident?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. This item is before just the SONYMA Audit Committee. It's a resolution transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. So now back to item 3.
Sorry for that.
No worries.
So the next audit that I'm presenting today is related to federal grant management and accounting. We performed the very comprehensive review of that operations together with the finance department. And as you know that HUD as a federal agency issues us the grants and funds to HCR, mainly HFA, and then further HFA distributes it to other agencies or directly to the grant recipients. So this function itself is heavily regulated, both in terms of like grant agreements as well as reporting requirements. So we checked that operations not only from like how well they perform internally, but also their compliance with the external reporting, accounting practices, and etc. So we found the finance department and HFA operations mostly in compliance. We had several specific accounting related as well as administratively related recommendations. Specifically, we recommended them to enhance their accounting methods, use more specified codes for accounting to avoid the pot approach when funds are coming to the like one account and then distributed from the same account without like specifying which project it's for. So we recommended apply that specified approach. We also recommended to enhance their reconciliation procedures to perform the reconciliation of how much was received, how much was distributed on a more regular basis. And also we recommended to be very, very careful with the federal requirements about the reporting on the funds that was received, because we had some hiccups in the past related to that, but given updated policies and procedures and methodologies for accounting, it will not be a problem going forward because we will have a granular data to for presenting our regulatory reports on time without any mistakes. And we also suggested that given the fact that both federal grant agreements and also regulatory requirements are legal matters, we suggested HFA and finance departments obtain a constant legal support when they have some questions or doubts about what is like must requirements and or something like a good to have practice. So we recommended them to have that constant legal connection or like a representative that will work with them.
And Hanif, just procedurally, so you make a recommendation, management responds and accepts your recommendations. Is there a follow-up after that just to confirm?
Absolutely.
That was done and you report back on that?
Yes. So on a regular basis, we come back to the same recommendation and same management response in a year. But if we receive a demand from or request from the board or executive management on a quicker follow-up, we follow up. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thanks. Well,
So this is before the HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC audit committees. A resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The
motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks, Hanif. The following item is a consent item that you know presentation was requested item 5, 2024 HFA audited supplementary financial information, other financial information or OFI report.
This is before the HFA audit committee. A resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. The resolution adopted.
Okay. And item 6 is for information only, the annual evaluation of the audit committee. Well,
sure.
We'll now take up the agenda for the governance committees. Item 1 is the adoption of the minutes. Item 2, mission statements of the agencies. Yeah.
So just briefly, the Public Authorities Law, as you know, requires all public authorities to adopt mission statements. These mission statements contain, among other things, a list of measurements to evaluate the agency's performance and achievement of their goals. Staff has provided in the materials relevant data tied to the mission statements to assist in the evaluation of the agency's performance. The results of this evaluation is part of our submission for the various public authorities under the Public Authorities Reporting Information System, or PARIS, filing that is required shortly. This item is being presented to the agency's governance committees in advance of the board meetings later this morning. The committees are requested to adopt the resolution making recommendation to the full boards. Any questions?
Obviously, I'm not on this, but I just, in terms of, the one thing on the mission statement there's not a metric for is on the innovations in construction technique. So just understanding if we can figure out like whether it's capturing the interesting projects that are getting financed with other things that we're doing to push that forward, just to understand it's kind of like what are the unit counts on, or the type of construction that we're doing, if we're seeing any cost savings. I don't know what those are, and I'd love to think through them with staff and what that should be, but interested in sort of figuring out metrics around that.
So do you want us to amend this to add that?
Yeah, of some sort. I would like help from staff to
Yeah,
figure out
we
what
could
those look like.
draft something and circulate it, and then, I don't know, Will, I guess we would not approve this month, we would then move it to next month once we had an added metric.
Well, I think we need to submit this with our Paris filings, which are imminent, so we need to have an approved filing for this.
So do you want to do it right
year.
now? We can write it on the spot?
What?
I'd say then to just,
Sorry, which, what number?
I think it was 3. Let me see here. On the page.
This is the HFA.
Yeah, both the preservation and the, I would just say like, you know, an annual update on insights from, I mean, I don't think they're specific at this point, but insights into available metrics to understand the types of construction measures that the agency uses.
Okay, we'll have it in the recording so we can draft that and add it. We'll
That's
add
right.
a verb or a noun if we need one.
Yeah, yeah,
Like-
and completely
Doesn't
open to
sentence,
that.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Always good to see government working quickly.
Well, we've had this in the past where we've done some of these sort of, editing on the fly, which I think is okay for this doc.
Okay, so before the HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC governance committees is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 3, the board self-evaluation. Well,
Similarly, the Public Authorities Law requires boards to conduct self-evaluations and the governance committees to assist the boards in the review of the board's self-evaluations. The agencies, again, are required to include the results of these board self-evaluations as part of our annual filings under the Paris system. We are requesting the governance committees to evaluate the self-evaluations that were provided. Summaries have been provided in the materials, and then the full boards will be asked to review and adopt the governance committee's findings. Any questions? Yes, please.
I would like to think about next year doing these evaluations individually for each of the boards as opposed to lumping them all together.
Okay.
I think it would be helpful to see, because anything in terms of our recommendations for how we procedurally do things differently, you know, there may be more specific information that comes from.
Okay. Sure.
Okay.
So this is again before the HFA. Oh, please.
And who they actually go to.
And who?
The
Sorry, which?
Self-evaluations. Because are they going to an individual person, or are they going to because it was like 3 different people that we were sending it to.
Right, and
as
so
opposed to
those,
the committee chairperson.
yeah, those folks are all on my team, and I was out for a couple of weeks in early January, so we were covering, but they come to the general counsel's team, and we review them and prepare the summary that's included in the materials for the governance committees and then ultimately for the board. So before the HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC governance committees is a resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried, the resolution adopted.
Okay, thank you. Item 4, the following items on this agenda are consent items. There will be no presentation unless requested. Item 4, acquisition, disposition, and inventory guidelines and reports.
This is before the HFA, SONYMA, and MBBA governance committees. A resolution transmitted in connection with the item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried, the resolution adopted.
Thank you. Item 5, amendment of CASO Document Management, Inc. contract for electronic records management services.
This is before the HFA and SONYMA governance committees. A resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried, the resolution adopted.
Item 6, amendment of contract with Checkpoint New York LLC for space leasing.
This is similarly before the HFA and SONYMA governance committees. A resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried, the resolution adopted.
Okay, do we need a break?
Do we need a break, members? I mean, yeah, let's take 3 minutes. Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
That's good, on the fly. We had a good discussion last month with Dave, whatever his name is.
Just to flag, we have a number of hard stops here, so.
When is your hard stop?
Did a mass timber
I might be able to get past 11:30, but I know noon is hard stop.
I need a little longer than 3 minutes, by the way.
Okay. So the remaining agenda is the board agenda, and the bulk of it are consent items that are the board's, the board's reviewing the committee items that we've just gone through. So there's no new presentations on those, and hopefully we can move quickly through them. We'll do our best.
Can you move
Great,
quickly through the MBBA, TSFC items?
Yeah, they're essentially all shared, but it's the full board's essentially just confirming what the committees have just seen, which you have all seen too.
Wait, the concept is.
Okay, I gotta put some more money in the meter, so I'll be right back.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. It's a milestone.
Some achievements.
But it was a really cool project in Oregon. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so it's exciting.
Can't wait to see how they change, what the changes in HUD are gonna be.
We have our heads down, we're just, well, it's not, it's for the EPA.
Yeah.
So, but yes, we have our heads down, we're just doing work.
EPA isn't even worse.
Yeah, it's to support affordability and preservation of housing. It's our
Yeah.
What's the
Not things that the
noise?
president is gonna be in sympathy with. I know. I just, it's
We
like,
are doing something, just, we launched this pilot to do
I can't
cross
watch the news
bonds in the
anymore.
3 months.
So,
So
you
they
know,
should, that should, those projects should be installed by like May. So that will give us.
I mean, I'm not sympathetic. I
Potentially
have,
have those organizations.
I know there are
buy
big problems with TBI, I have big
from
problems.
each thing, and then we have some thoughts about.
But to just throw it all out.
No, I completely agree with you. It was way too much of an overreach, and look what it did. Unearthed
Yeah.
this anger and this like, liberal.
Shifting to like what you're gonna.
Yes.
There's a middle ground, and
That's dangerous, I don't know.
I know, but they're willing to have that conversation at the Fed to say what is New York State that we built.
Yeah.
we just can't can't afford to be that hungry. So,
We're working with trying to work on an anti-Semitism project at City College. There has been a lot of anti-Semitism. The Alumni Association, which I'm involved with, is concerned about, obviously, because, obviously the college has changed and it's no longer 95% Jewish.
right.
But there are still Jewish students there.
At least we should get the modular things.
Even if it's only 2%, it's still several hundred kids. And DEA has been a tremendous problem. And unsympathetic, to say the least.
Which is completely inconsistent with what it should be.
Right. But it's gone too far to the
But our
left.
cross-mod thing is going to launch a lot of that.
Just a lot of that stuff.
I had to
Yeah,
fill
I
out
think
a
that
form.
would be, and we'll talk about it and write about it over the summer.
I had to fill out a form for synagogue, doing an evaluation of synagogue, a very large synagogue. So after all the, the questions about what's going on, et cetera, policy, you get to the demographics, just for the sake of the survey. And filling out the survey, the demographic part of the survey, it says white. White, Asian Pacific, and it's like a dozen different varieties. And said, well, what I'm supposed to sign, check obviously is white. It didn't check it, it checked other, Ashkenazi, Middle Eastern origin.
Where's your modicum of
Seriously, it's a pretty broad brush, right?
Yeah, it could be a lot of things, I'm not Anglo-Saxon, I'm not Nordic.
Okay, they're rebooting the system and trying to reconnect. We lost B, Will.
Yeah, I think, do we have her back? Do we have Syracuse back?
We have, we do have a chair.
I'm back, but this is the second time today that I've been booted out. And getting back in gets harder and harder each time, so I don't know what the issue is.
Syracuse, the camera's facing the wall though.
We're trying to get out of here.
It's like 11:30.
We have to now,
Yeah, so,
do we have a lengthy approval?
11:30 is my hard stop.
yeah, we
Is
need
that-
to.
Oh shit, really? All right,
Go ahead.
we gotta get going.
Okay,
Yeah, let's go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry.
okay, we're gonna get started again.
How unusual.
Yeah, you can just start, Steve, actually.
This is very old-fashioned.
But yeah,
What is?
Paper.
Oh, yeah, you know.
What is
well,
this
this
stuff?
so the red line didn't show up in the materials, so I asked
So you had to,
Oh, nice. Oh, okay.
oh, very good.
Okay, we're gonna get started. Okay, are we back on?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to begin the shared agenda item, HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, TSFC, and HFA Finance and Program Committee. Item 1 is the adoption of the minutes. Item 2, SDVOB goal plans. Note that this item is the same as item 9 on the HTFC board agenda, and we'll consider all resolutions for the project after the presentation. Kat McCadden, Chief of Staff, will present this item. Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay.
We need our directors, Freeman and Moore.
Hang on. Volume.
It's cold down. 2 times a year.
Oh, no, there it goes. Okay, that's the right one. That's it.
Hi, Dan. Thank you.
Are they watching you, Dan?
Get your volume back.
I'm gonna turn this off.
Okay, we can get started.
I can go ahead and get
Yes,
started? All
please.
right, good morning, directors. My name is Kathleen McCadden Benjamin. I'm the Chief of Staff here. Tamika Edwards, who is the Assistant Vice President of DECO, is out. She's not feeling well, so I am here presenting the SDBOB reports that will be submitted to the Office of General Services. HCR's Department of Empowerment, Compliance, and Opportunity, known as DECO, is charged with ensuring increased service disabled veteran-owned businesses participation throughout all the agency's endeavors. The New York State Goal Plan for 25-26 is submitted as a consolidated document for all of our entities. These expenditures included in the goal plan have been divided into 3 categories: procurement, development, and bond-related costs. Procurement is a direct spend for the agencies, while bond-related and developments are indirect spends. Under the development category, the agencies award funds to recipients who are responsible for hiring construction trades. The agencies ensure that recipients, including developers, municipalities, not-for-profits, and charitable organizations participating in achieving compliance with Article 3 guidelines. For our public authorities, we saw a total of 5.91% achievement or attainment in our SDBOB utilization. And for DHCR HTFC, we saw 7.1% achievement for our SDBOB utilization. We really saw a great increase in suppliers, SDBOB suppliers in concrete, lumber, and steel. We really utilize the same strategies across all the entities, whether MWBEs and SDBOBs, to increase utilization, find firms. And we work with veteran organizations, and there's an event called VetCom that is really the most, I think, successful way to connect SDBOBs in the supplier and in the construction trades. Are there any questions?
Thanks, Kat.
Just the SDBOB report.
Now before the HTFC, HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC boards, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Okay, thanks, Kat. Item 3, amendment to the Uniform Investment Guidelines. Mark Price.
Good morning again. So I'll be doing, I guess, this item and the next item, and they're fairly similar. So we have a set of investment guidelines for all of our different entities. The treasurer, Michelle Okusanya, who now reports to me, and that reporting change happened last year, was going through the investment guidelines and noticed that there were some things that needed to be updated. And so the major updates are, one, with the reporting change, we needed to integrate my position into the investment committee and authorization and the like. Two, there were some contradictory language in one of the sections. And then the third is we needed to align the definition of trustee and primary dealer to that of which is in the bond resolutions, and also definitions by the Federal Reserve Bank. So that's basically the summary of the changes. I'm happy to take any questions.
And the red line.
I have a couple questions. First of all, I mean, obviously, we got several different candidates for investing in our funds, right? Who is our custodial bank? Is it one or is it several?
Yeah, so
I mean, for repurchase agreements, let's say, we should have, obviously, we have a custodial bank where you take delivery versus payment, ownership, and everything. Do we have several custodial banks?
Yeah, so we work with a number of trustees, but the two trustees we work with the most are U.S. Bank and Bank of New York.
Okay. And do we require like a certain percentage haircut on the value, the principal value of our investments versus what's being pledged against the investment to kind of offset maybe fluctuations of the market on the value of those securities?
Yeah, so depending upon the interest contract, yes, but I wouldn't be able to go through all of those here. but,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but
But
there-
I-
do we ask the bank or our investment partners whether or not they're willing to pledge over and above the value of the principal on the investment, like I said, to help offset the value of the securities? Because I know they're mark to market, but, you know, it changes, it fluctuates every day. So I was just curious whether or not we ask for more than what the principal value is.
Yeah, so again, it does depend, it does depend on the situation. Certainly, we have some guaranteed investment contracts, some collateralized agreements. Those are usually over collateralized by a point or two.
Okay. And obviously, we deal with primary reporting dealers of the Fed, right?
I'm sorry, I got two questions at the same time. One more time.
Okay, the next question is, when we do book repurchase agreements, we're doing it with firms that are primary dealers to the Fed?
That's correct.
And lastly, whose responsibility is it to value the securities on a monthly basis? Is it your responsibility or is it the bank or the investment company? Because in the documents, it says that the securities should be valued on a monthly basis. And obviously, the investments go for 90 days. But in the interim, whose responsibility is it to value those pledged securities? Is it the agency or is it the bank who's providing the securities?
Our treasurer just walked in, Michelle Okisanya, so she will help with this question. But I believe that the answer to the question is, if we need monthly valuations, we get monthly statements from the banks.
You get monthly statements from the bank? Yeah, you get monthly statements from the bank that values the securities pledged against the investments?
Yes. We
Okay, and then-
Our collateralized investment agreement is collateralized 103 or 105%. And we evaluate.
Bingo, that's the haircut I was talking about. So they're pledging between 103 and 105% of the value of the investment.
Yes.
Okay, and then my last question was, and I certainly appreciate that answer. And my last question was, whose responsibility is it to value the securities on a monthly basis? Is it the bank or is it our agency?
Our agency. We evaluate every 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
And for those of you who didn't hear when Michelle sat down, this is Michelle Okisanya, who's the treasurer for HCR.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Mark.
And
good news on both. Thank you.
James?
She answered it.
Okay.
It was more than 1% of
Great.
quarter box.
I didn't know the exact. I said a point or two, but 3 to 5 points. Gotcha. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you both. So we're going to combine 3 and 4 and approve them at the same time.
Sure. Now before the HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC boards are resolutions that were transmitted in connection with these items. Assuming the motion is second previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion's carried, the resolution's adopted.
Okay, item 5, HFA AHOP financing for First Genesis Homes, City of Rochester, Monroe County, and Thomas Abbott, Director of Home Ownership Initiatives, will present this item. Morning.
I'll be brief here. So this is a request for $4.4 million in AHOP financing to support the construction of 22 homes in the city of Rochester. These are in the Conea, C-O-N-E-A neighborhood, sort of northeast of downtown. Our borrower here is Rochester Management, who have done a lot of work with the agency on the rental side, I think newer to the homeownership work, but we're excited to work with them. They're also working in partnership with the local First Genesis Baptist Church, who's actually in the org structure receiving a portion of the developer fee. There's 3 home typologies here, 5 2-bedroom ranches, 6 3-bedroom ranches, and 11 3-bedroom 2-story homes. They're all really clustered. So some of our scattered site are sort of more scattered site across the neighborhood. These ones are just clustered on 4 different blocks. So there's a real community impact there. A lot of support from local jurisdictions, so that nearly 30% of the capital stack is ARPA funding and other sources from the City of Rochester, from Monroe County, and from the Rochester City Council. And working here with Greater Rochester Housing Partnership as our participating lender. The really experienced and well-regarded architect and GC here. So Passero is doing the architecture and Atlas will be building the homes. And they'll be marketed actually, we've had some discussions with the City of Rochester. They have an in-house team that is doing the marketing, the income qualification, and training the potential home buyers. So we're excited about this one. It's slightly larger than the ones we've seen come through in Rochester to date. So way to make a good impact on a neighborhood.
Terrific. Thank you, Thomas. Questions?
Note for the record that the chairman has recused himself from voting on this item. Now before the HFA board is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Okay, we'll now take up the item requiring a shared action by HFA Finance and Program Committee and the HFA Board. Item 6. Item 6, series resolution amendments and a refinancing related to 160 West 62nd Street, City of New York, New York County. Mark Price. Well, Mark.
Thank you. I'll be brief. This is very similar to other refinancings of 80/20 transactions that you've seen recently. So Emerald Green was back in October, 325 Kent was late last year, and this one is 160 West 62nd Street. There's $245,750,000 of bonds outstanding that are privately placed with Wells Fargo. The private placement end date had been pushed out to the end of this month. They have been in discussions with Freddie Mac to receive credit enhancement on fixed rate bonds that will be issued to refinance the outstanding bonds. There's $14,750,000 that will be paid down. So the bonds we would be looking to issue and refinance are $231 million, like I said, with a Freddie Mac credit enhancement. And so what is being asked of the board here is to approve resolutions in connection with that refinancing. And just wanted to note in the memo, it mentions extending the private placement end date to the end of March. We're going to do it to the end of April, just to make sure if there's any slippage in the bond timing. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Mark.
Now before the HFA Finance and Program Committee and the HFA Board is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried, the resolution adopted.
Okay, so the following items are consent items. There will be no presentation. I'm going to combine items 7 through 16 in one fell swoop. Well,
Just real quick, I would just note on the financial statements, there are 3 things that within the budget, and I guess it's on 1547, marketing, advertising, consultants, and travel were significantly underspending. And I think those are 3 things that actually we should focus on actually spending that money, whether it's like sending gift baskets to new homeowners and things where we can sort of market ourselves, traveling and getting out there, and then also sort of if we need help on anything else, to just focus on those 3 things, because I think they can really support the agency in its mission, but also getting out there. But those 3 things were significantly underspent last year, and I just would be great if we spent the money, since I think those are really valuable resources.
Could you say the 3 categories again?
Consultants if necessary, marketing and advertising, and travel.
Great. Thank you. Well,
Okay, so now before, respectively, there's 10 items here, and there's 10 different resolutions that are before respectively various combinations of the HFA, SONYMA, MBBA, TSFC, and AHC boards. These resolutions are transmitted in connection with these items respectively. Assuming the motions and seconds previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. Thank you, and the resolutions are adopted.
Okay, item 17, award of AHC grant funds for certain projects listed in the agenda, which is also a consent item.
Yes. Now before the AHC board is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution adopted.
All right, I'll turn things over to Vice Chair Visnauskas for the remaining SONYMA agenda.
Okay, the remaining items on the agenda are information items, and if people want presentation on them, please do.
Before this is item 18.
Oh, sorry, I skipped 18. Oh, sorry. I'm not there yet.
Item number 10.
We're going to do item 18 first.
And then go back up.
And then the procurement are information items, I believe, already set.
They are both number 10 and, oh no, that's lobbying.
Oh, right.
Sorry, the quarterly procurement
Before on item 10, yes.
report is also 21.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, we just voted on item 10, but.
Well, we can do a presentation as part of it. Is item 21 the same thing?
No, it's separate.
Okay.
We just voted on item 10.
Yes, yes.
There was questions on item 10.
Well,
Issue with the report.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah,
Okay,
we should address those if you want to take the time now.
Can we adjourn the MBBA TSFC portion of the meeting?
I think we need, just hang on one second, Andy.
Yeah, so
All
what
right,
we did,
Steve.
so we had items 7 through 16 on the agenda were consent items.
They were previously presented.
And in large part have been previously presented to the committees, but no, not the procurement report.
Right, not the procurement portion of it. That was item number 10.
Right, so Director has some questions on that.
That was supposed to be, there was a motion, going to be a motion to table that item first. And then we could go to the other items, if we needed to go back to 10.
Okay.
There was a motion to table.
I was gonna make a motion to table it.
Okay.
I didn't hear you. Vote on it yet.
Sorry, we moved too fast for you, but now we can address your questions. Apologies for that, for item 10. Yeah.
First, and then we can come back to it, since some people have to leave at 11:30.
I think the folks that we have that need to leave are you know, HFA, AHC folks that this concerns, so we need to address any issues on this.
Let's do 10.
And then apologies.
All right, go back.
Yeah.
Go back to item 10.
Yeah.
Okay, so item 10, the agency's annual procurement report for the period ending October 31, 24, and quarterly procurement report for the period of August 1, 24 to October 31, 24. There was no presentation, but.
No, but we have Lisa Pagazzi here.
Thank you.
Can answer some of the previously provided questions.
On the report itself, we received like 700 some pages of your report. There were no tabs in any of the items that were in there. So actually 726 pages. So one, for future reports, can we have them bookmarked?
Absolutely.
And easily navigate.
Absolutely.
The other thing for the annual report,
Excuse me, on that point, being asked to read 700 plus pages in advance of a board meeting is probably not the best way to get board participation. I've mentioned this before in other meetings, when we have presented as order, work that you do, but just take it and pass it over to the board itself that we need and want. So some kind of summary would be a lot more useful than just, well, here's 700 pages. I just, that's not it. I don't, yeah, in any kind of board, I don't think that's the way it typically would work.
Lisa, can I ask, I think this is a summary, as we do each quarterly report, this is then a retro of those reports that you've received each quarter, just, is that?
It's two separate reports.
Correct, I think we're just talking about the annual, yeah, I'm just talking about the annual.
And one is a quarterly.
The memo itself summarizes the report. I should have, and I'll do it next time. The Paris filing was included in that report. The
Right.
Paris filing, the way Paris
books these reports is 1 page per contract. So I think 400 out of the 700 pages was just the Paris filing, which was repetitive of contracts that were in the consolidated annual report. And I can make that clearer next time.
Because we just don't need 400 pages like that, I would say. I don't think that's, a summary would be helpful, and if we need something more, we'll ask for it.
Well, the memo is a summary, so if we can make the memo better too, maybe we would take suggestions on that also. Right before the procurement report is Lisa's.
Right, and the summary of
Is
what's in the
4
report is
pages.
in that memo.
But we can modify that if you need the memo to be different, because it's attempting to do that, but if it doesn't do it accurately, let's fix that for sure.
That's a good point. It's a lot of material.
And I think
Yeah.
actually just to that point, if you could you can hyperlink from those
Right,
summary,
very
those Roman numerals to where they are in the thing. It would allow people to easier just
Oh,
navigate back
that's a
and
great
forth.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Absolutely.
And the other thing is, for the annual report, there's a section labeled MWBE analysis, but there is no analysis attached to the report.
There's a summary at the bottom where it summarizes how the total amount spent on all contracts. It's on the bottom of the contract report and for contracts. And then the carve out for those contracts where there's MWB availability and those that were excluded and those that were exempt, which is all summarized in the memo as well. And then it had also the percentage from that category where there was MWB availability, how many MWBs did we actually have contracts with? And that's summarized in the memo.
Yeah, I went through the whole thing. I didn't see the utilization, the overall utilization.
It's on page 4. It's on page 4 of the memo that accompanies.
Or the memo?
Yes, that accompanies this report. It breaks down the exclusion, the exempt, and those areas of contracts where there's MWB availability. And it gives you the percentage. There was 66% overall MWB participation for the year. 61% was for MBE, 5% was WBE.
I'll go back, but I did not see the analysis in the report outline there.
It's in the memo. It's in the memo.
Memo.
Page 4 of the memo.
Okay. And the other thing is bond counsel and co-bond counsel, how the partnerships determine what are the utilization rates based on that.
I don't have the breakdown of that. I'm not sure how they get partnered, but I can get you the utilization numbers for bond counsel and co-bond counsel.
Okay.
Can you circulate that before the next meeting?
Sure, absolutely.
Because I'm curious of that, because the way the system is manipulated is one will be counsel, one will be co-counsel, and then they'll alternate between the two in order to bypass having anybody new come in. Then the other thing is, why are the contracts and purchase order reports formatted differently?
It's the nature of our system, and there's different rules with standalone purchase orders. We have contracts, and then we have standalone purchase orders, which are more one-off types of purchases. I want to purchase a subscription for Norton, or I want to purchase 500 laptops. And the procurement rules are a little bit different than those for contracts, which are much more stringent. And the way that you procure, the reporting is a little bit different too for purchase orders. For contracts, we report the total value of contracts from the commencement of the contract to the current date. For purchase orders, if you have a purchase order with Verizon, for example, all the purchase orders accumulate, aggregate for the year, and then in the next year, you start at 0 again. And that's how purchase orders, the standalone purchase orders work.
Because the purchase order report is a lot clearer than a contract report one. So there's no way to
There's a lot more,
Apply.
there's a lot more information on the contract report. There's an allocation, first of all, among all 5 agencies. There's other requirements that we're required to put in the annual report per the public authorities law, such as, the start and end date for a contract, how many bids we received. Of those bids, how many were MWBEs, whether it's a New York State business enterprise or a foreign business enterprise, et cetera. So there's a lot more information that's required on the contract report than the standalone purchase orders. And we try to put it as in a as much as we could, a user-friendly type of format.
Ready to say loser friendly. But
it was a lot of information that we're required to put.
Understanding that, it would certainly be helpful just going forward, whoever's on the board, and just that bit of explanation that you just gave would be extremely helpful for those of us who are not spending every day here at the institution to get a better feel for what we should be looking for when we're getting these materials.
Actually, that is also in the memo. We put in what we're required, all the procurement activity, and we list all the activity that needs to be in the contract report.
Well, that's the thing too. 726 pages. What was to be conveyed to the directors? Because if you go item by item and you break down this report, it really doesn't say anything. It's just numbers that run around each other. So what is it supposed to say? Because it's 726 pages and it doesn't give you a clear picture of anything.
We can try to do a better job with the memo. In the report, we put in exactly what is required of us pursuant to the statute and Paris, but we tried to summarize all of that activity as well as the MWBE participation in the memo itself, which was accompanying the report. I understand it is a large report.
Mr. Chair, we discussed this before, in terms of having something that is user-friendly, which is not, I understand this is a good bit of work that you and your colleagues did, and it should be addressed properly. But for the board, if you give us 760 pages, whatever it may be, then you're basically saying we don't really expect you to read this. Okay.
Well, look, I think the memo,
within a week, we just,
the memo summarizes the report, and I think that's the focus of the attention. If there's more information that you need, then you can dig into the report. The report is the report. It's a submission that you make to that goes with the Paris filing. Correct. And so we can't cut any corners on that, but
nobody's suggesting cutting
but the
corners.
report, so I think the report is intended to summarize the materials that support it. I'm sorry, the memo.
Yeah, but the thing is that, okay, we got 1,400 some pages for review. Okay, granted. Okay, 726 was just procurement. So you're summarizing in a paragraph the information, but when you go through the numbers and you go through the report itself, it's like a dog running around its tail. It's not really giving you the information you need for any measurable information anywhere. So that's why I'm asking. And then the analysis, was there analysis for the quarterly one? Because I didn't see that one either.
There wasn't an analysis for the quarterly, but there was an analysis for the annual. And we do usually do an analysis for the quarter, but we just ran short of time.
Right. So that one wasn't in here. It was documented. It was a blurb for it, but there was no information supporting.
I don't think I stated in the memo that there was analysis. I could be mistaken because
there
we,
was.
I don't have that memo in front of me, but okay. We can certainly provide that analysis to you along with the co-bond counsel and bond counsel information that you requested.
One suggestion is maybe you send out a draft of the memo in like December so that people can have it, because it obviously has a ton of backup information that comes, so people have a chance to just sort of take a look at the format, how you're going to be envisioned doing it, so that if there's follow-up information you want to dig in more deeply, it's in draft format, it's not being approved, but I think for people to just take a look at it, so that if you have questions on what is the backup information, how is this derived, there's something you can point to, but without sending all the backup, just sending the memo, because I think it does set a nice framework, frankly, for what's being there, but I think giving people the opportunity to ask questions about, like, what is the backup for this, where is this coming from, but providing it in draft format, perhaps early, and maybe an easier way to
Right.
That's a good idea.
Because the reason for my frustration is we asked for a report, a combined report, and that combined report went across the agency. So we received a report for construction. So we come to the next meeting, we ask about the report, and you can't use that report because it doesn't have procurement and doesn't have bond in it. So then we get a new report, and the new report for MWBE comes out, and then the graphs don't match the numbers. But you can't use that report either because it doesn't have the bond information in it. Then we get a bond one, but it doesn't have procurement and it doesn't have construction. And then we're here and we were supposed to get one in December. We're in actually November, and December was supposed to discuss what we're doing for the new year. And now we're in January. And we got a 3-minute presentation, no report still for the 3 items combined, but we did get one for procurement, 726 pages, but we didn't get construction, we didn't get bond that combines all of them. And then the MWBE utilization, when you look at the report, is nonsense. So that's my frustration, because we keep asking for this, and it's been 2 years, and it keeps getting pushed. We get one report that doesn't support the other 2 reports, or we get an incomplete report that says nothing. You know what I'm saying? And it has been more than once, just from procurement, where we've requested things and we get to a board meeting and they say, sorry, we ran out of time. And then come the next month, it's not even discussed anymore. So we keep bringing up the same questions and not getting any information. And then when we finally pin certain people in the corner to say, look, this is what we want and we need it, we were told we didn't really think you should get it because you're only a part of the SONYMA board portion of it. So even some of the reports we received were doctored to eliminate information, only to just show SONYMA. So it's a game that keeps being played. So that's the level of frustration.
I certainly take issue with the characterization of anything as a game. I would say, look, we're obviously a very big and complex entity. We are multiple public authorities. We are an agency. This, is a statutory report. We don't have the ability. The board has to approve it. We have to submit it into the public authorities review system. We want to make these, and you see it in the deal memos. We want to make the information consumable, and sort of the reason for Lisa doing the memo. But if it's not, we're absolutely open to making, certainly for things like this, more consumable. It's not that easy for us, I think, because of our multiple entities, to always consolidate everything into one, because we don't operate that way. We have separate boards, we have an agency, but we are trying to be responsive while also sort of undertaking the business we have. So I would happily take, suggestions on, certainly for something like this, if we need to put better info in the procurement annual report that we're required to submit, so you feel like you can review it as a board member, absolutely we want to do that. And the team works very hard to try and do that. And if we're not meeting your expectations, happy to make some changes.
But see, that's the thing is, we've been on the board for like 2 years. These are questions that should have been answered prior. So we're asking the questions. Granted, we're new, we're asking the questions. They're trying to make the accommodations to do these things, certain things. But when we get reports like no names on it, no contracts, no information, and it's just numbers, we go through the report, we're up to 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you find out some numbers are just plugged in. There's no formulas or anything, and the numbers are just dropped in willy-nilly. It's a problem. I understand we're trying to consolidate things and get things together, but if we're making decisions as directors and we're basing it off of information that other boards are receiving, that information should be shared.
Sure, we obviously have different boards and different people sit on the different boards, so it is complicated when we're in this environment that different people are approving and voting and seeing, and so I understand that creates some amount of, and our systems also don't align necessarily that way because we're multiple entities
But
too.
that's the thing too, because we have a system that was supposed to cost 13 million, it ends up being 80 million something dollars, and we still have young people coming in asking for more money to be thrown at that system in order to make it usable or user-friendly for the applications that we need.
Sure, I mean, that was our back-end accounting system. We have actually lots of systems in the agency that do lots of things, and we're trying to, as Tom sort of presented last month, we are trying to continually change our platforms, modernize our platforms, and do our work more efficiently through technology, but we're not there yet, for sure. We have, many platforms that have to get updated and brought online, and they don't all talk to each other, and that's sort of a function of, being integrated, being a somewhat integrated agency that is multiple things put together, right?
With all courtesy, I just want to mention, this is not the first time we've had this conversation, right? And so we're kind of going in a circle here at this point, so I'm hopeful, I think we all are, that we can get just a better way of going forward with these kinds of matters, because this is not the first time this has been brought up. And again, I've sat on boards before, I've served boards before, and if you give a board member 700 pages of
Again, that's the report we have to submit into the system, so we don't really have a choice but to share it with you. But but happy, as I said, we want to make it consumable. So I think I think Lisa tried to make this 4-page memo with a sort of a consumption, a good summary of that. But if there's specific stuff that you want in the memo, we should, shoot us an email, let us know what that is, and we can modify it for I don't know if you do a memo for the quarterly one.
I do.
Yeah, so we can modify it for the quarterly one. I don't think we've talked about this quarterly summary memo before, but we should, and happy to change it.
Yeah, because there are things that are still out there that we need to discuss. Changing the liquidated damages, which we had brought up 2 years ago. That
is not in Lisa's shop, but yes, that's not relevant to the procurement conversation.
MWBE, as far as the waivers that were requested, which one were actually applied, that should also be included in there.
This is not Lisa's area, but yeah.
The other things, the internal audit process and everything that's done through procurement, how that's actually reviewed, who sees it, who QCs it, all of those things.
Sorry, what was that last thing you said?
How they are audited, internal audited, whether there's an internal audit as far as funds that are being used through procurement, all of those things. Like, like when this report is done, who QCs it, who reviews it and says everything in here is up to speed before it goes to Paris. And when is this one actually due? Because it's 90 days. Are we at that 90-day now, or we still have time?
We still have time.
It's the October 31 end of the fiscal year, so it goes.
It gets submitted with all of the other annual
November,
reports.
it goes January 31st. It's due. Yeah, January 31st. It's due in the system.
I believe January 29th.
Vote on this now.
Yeah, so we vote on it today, so it can get uploaded into the Paris system. Again, if there's any sort of inaccuracies, and the document is the format that we have to submit, and so the approval is for the document that we're required to
The
submit.
next time, I will make the Paris filing, which needs to be approved by the board as a supplementary material outside of the regular report, so it won't look as cumbersome.
Just the
And
document,
all of the information that's in the Paris filing, which is 1 page for each contract, is also inside the consolidated annual report. So it's repeated.
Good start. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure.
I mean, the Paris filing is the Paris filing. We don't change that.
No.
Right, so the memo, which is summary information, I think we can talk about how to improve that to summarize it in a way that's more helpful, but the filing is the filing. Like, we don't change the data, we don't change the information.
Right. And we have to submit it in the format required by state controller.
I think we understand that. Again, that being said, a summary of some sort for board use and perspective would be helpful. That's all I'm saying, so that,
Well, I'm willing to.
Okay, where are we trying to go with this discussion? Where are we trying to go with this discussion?
We're trying to go.
Are we trying to say that the agency isn't compliant with its MWBE procurement policies? Whether that it pertains to bond lawyers and investment bankers? I mean, I'm trying to find out what the end game is here. We got to file a report. We got to file a report. You're gonna adjust summaries, but where's the result of this? What are we looking for? I just want to ask this gentleman, is there a problem with our ability to be in compliance with our MWBE procurement requirements?
That's the question. And one of the things that we do to use that as a measure is to actually look at the reports. But when the reports don't actually have the information that's consistent in the report, that's a problem because you have no starting point, you have no ending point. So the only thing that you have to digest is the reports that you're given. But then when you look at the reports, if you have 3 pieces to the report and you only have 1 piece of the report, what are you basing the foundation of your determination on whether or not we're in compliance when you got 2 pieces missing?
What are your specific concerns? The report is the report. I understand that. But what are you concerned with at the end of the day? That you said before about the game being played. Are you assuming or asserting that there are games being played with the agency's ability to procure minority and women-owned business opportunities?
Well, that's what we're trying to find out because, one, the activity of the amount of the MBEs and MWBEs is lacking. It's like at 5% compared to 95% of other individuals that are participating. So as we're going through this over the last number of years, like we requested ESD to come in. ESD, we didn't get them in until October. We asked for them to come in February. When they finally
Where did you get those percentages? Where are you getting your alternate information from?
ESD's annual reports.
All right, fellas, I think we need to.
5 years on it.
I think we need to move on with this. I'm going to suggest that we separately meet to talk about this. I think we can talk about what we can do to summarize the information differently. That's more user friendly. The data is the data. We're not questioning the data. I think the report provides what it is. If you've got questions about the underlying information, we can try to dig into that. But I think we need to move on at this point.
And just to add, there are tools, I think maybe this is we can work on, using AI, frankly, to do some of the summary work is actually really powerful in terms of how other folks are using it to pull out information in these long reports. But I think developing methodologies to summarize stuff can be done in a fairly modern fashion to support pulling out a lot of that data and making it more discernible. But I think those are things can be worked on as a group over the course of the next handful of months.
Okay.
I certainly want you to have the answers that you need, no doubt.
Okay, thanks, Andy. All right, so we're going to move.
I think we just need to quickly ratify the vote on item 10. Again, before the HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC boards, a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried, the resolution adopted, and I'll note that Director McEwen had left prior to that vote. So now I believe that
item 18.
Yeah, all we have left is a SONYMA item. We can adjourn all of the meetings except for SONYMA. So all members and directors, assuming the motion second previously recorded for all meetings except for SONYMA, all in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried and the meetings are adjourned.
Mr. Chairman,
please.
before we adjourn?
Oh, you're not adjourned. We're going to keep Sunny May open.
We have one more item on the SONYMA.
We're just going to let.
Still before we adjourn,
Oh,
I'd like
okay.
to say something. Okay, thank you.
We're adjourned.
Okay, Sunny May is.
Yeah, so
Okay.
all the meetings except for SONYMA, and so we've got one remaining item on the SONYMA agenda. So.
Okay, thank you. Go Bills.
What's the item number?
We are at 18. Okay, so
okay.
item 18 is mortgage insurance. on a $36,335,000 HTC permanent first mortgage loan for the project called Innovative Urban Village Phase 1B in the city of New York. And Gary Schultenfrei from the MIF team is going to present. Hi, Gary.
Good morning.
I don't get to see you too often.
I'm in the
Welcome.
lunchroom.
And in the lunchroom, yes.
Thank you. New York City Housing Development Corporation has requested that SONYMA provide 50% mortgage insurance on a $36,335,000 permanent first mortgage loan for the construction of 453 units and 22,883 square feet of commercial and community facility space. All of the units, all 453, are going to be low-income units with a maximum AMI of 80%. 68 units will be supportive housing for formerly homeless individuals. The development's a joint venture between the Gotham Organization, Urban Living Alternatives, which is an affiliate of the Christian Cultural Center, and Monadnock Development LLC. Anybody have any questions?
Now before the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee and the SONYMA Board is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
I think it's back to you for 19 to 22.
These are, I think, just information items that we can,
I can close it out, though.
we can close out. I know that Professor Ford wanted to.
Yeah, just before we conclude, this has been, I've mentioned it before, and don't want to continue to, well, I guess I will, continue to kind of say the same thing, but one of the things that I was interested in from the time I came to SONYMA in this iteration was to increase the presence of Black and Latino personnel within SONYMA. And hopefully at the more medium and senior levels so far. I look at the room every time I'm here for a meeting, and it's I've not seen much of a change. Not that I should be notified of every single change that's made, but overall, at least my understanding with what I've been able to look at in terms of hiring and who's working where and what have you, we haven't really seen much in that regard. And I would just appreciate, along with our MWBE concerns, that just the hiring process here, and the positions do open up, and somehow this never seems to be an opportunity for a Black woman or Black man to be in that position, or somebody somehow is better. And that's always a subjective matter. We know that.
So you're raising a couple of things. There's, hiring is one thing. Yes. Physical presence at our meetings is another thing. People are busy. They're working. I mean, people are here because they need to be here. We're not just filling the room to represent the participation.
Yeah, I've been coming to this room for over 2 years. I understand that. Okay, so that is not my point. Of course, but it is the same people, and there are other people that could be here or perhaps should be here as a learning process, if nothing else. But whatever the case is, I'm not getting a sense that there's any real movement. If there is, I'd like to be made aware of that. Of course, I've mentioned that multiple times as well. But I do think that there needs to be some further attention to that, and if we can discuss it next meeting, that's fine. But I did want to bring it up as we begin this new and wonderful year.
I mean, I would note Terrell Ford, who oversees all of our single-family originations. She's the most, she's the senior person in that entire division, is a woman of color, and Mark Price, who issues, I don't know, $2 billion of bonds, maybe plus or minus a year. Also, person of color. We certainly strive to have that, and I think some of that. Michelle Okusanya, our treasurer, I think you would have seen some diversity in the folks who are in charge of our largest parts of our agency.
I think what he's saying is not just one department head, but more of a saturation of individuals of color throughout the agency.
Sure, we're 300 people in this building, so certainly each month you see 20 or so of those who are presenting. And Daryl, I didn't mean to say that our head on the HFA SONYMA treasurer side.
I mean, I think your point's well taken, but it's also about I mean, people are here to present. If we're not picking and choosing people to sit here to simply be here to listen to the meeting.
pardon me, if I might just interrupt. As I said, we've been coming here about 2 years now, and it's typically the same people. When the room is full, when the room is half full, when the room is almost empty, it is the same people. Again, I don't want to get into a lot of back and forth now because I know we need to go, but perhaps that could be an agenda item for some strategies or ways of going forward to increase Black and Latino participation in the workforce here. Okay, I think there could be more. I think there should be more.
There can always be more, excuse me? It can always be more, but my point to you is that we have people here, representative of the positions that they have to present at the meetings. People aren't simply sitting here to watch our meetings, they're here to participate.
Well, you're saying what I already know, you said I knew. Okay? Having said that, somehow somehow we're not seeing more people, participating here, and if that is reflective of participating in the work that's being analyzed here and voted on and what have you, perhaps that's something to be considered as well. Okay, and
But, excuse me, Professor Ford, it's a function of staff turnover, though, and if there's very little turnover, you're not going to see that much change. And there's nothing to be done about it, because we don't have the ability to hire well.
May I suggest that since we have some new hires in the diversity area, that we provide them an opportunity to give us a status report on the makeup of the team, of the staff and across the agencies, right? Because again, it's a broad organization. So at least we're aware, because I don't get to see anybody except the little bit I can see from here. But I know that there are people of color working in the offices there and in other parts of the state, but we don't know what those numbers are. So now that you have a person in the diversity area who's going to be responsible for some of these things, maybe now is the right time, as has been stated, for an update and a strategy to move forward for the agency.
Yep, we can do that.
Because with the governor's policy on state colleges, 25 to 55, giving them free education, changing job status, and other things, there's an opportunity for outreach to individuals who had not had the opportunity before to work with the agency or to go to school to fill some of these positions that we get copies of the job postings and stuff. But if we have that information and we have an outreach for these kids to be able to come in here, we'll be able to see more people who are coming in, instead of what we see on an average basis.
It's a great announcement. I think the eligible jobs are actually like nursing, and there's like very specific job categories for which you can go back in the 25 to, I think it's to 55 for the free tuition. I don't think government is one of them, or certainly.
Or housing.
I don't think we fall into one of the categories, but I echo your support for it. I think it's a great program.
There is a desire to do so, there's a way to do it. I'll just leave it at that. Okay, and it can be better and more than it is now.
A desire to do what?
Beg your pardon?
I just didn't understand.
I said if there is a desire, and a motivation to try and improve with respect to the positioning and placement of Black and Latino men and women in this organization, it can be done. I've worked in organizations,
but it's being done.
Okay.
It is being done.
I've been here 2 years. I'm not seeing it. That's okay.
You're not seeing it because they're not coming to the board meetings, but we can provide a report that evidences the hires.
I'm sure everybody has places to go at this point, but I will just stand on this: is that yes, I know that everybody doesn't need to be in this room who's been hired by over the last 2 years, and I also know that there's new people in this room. Just about every time I come in here, and they're not Black and they're not Latino by and large, so obviously something can be done if something wants to be done, and it's not even a matter of qualifications, because we're in New York City, for goodness sake. We're not in Kankakee, Iowa, or someplace like that. There are any number of people with equal qualifications, so then you have to make decisions. Okay, and I've made them, you've made them, and Mr. Chairman, I know you had to make them as well, and you make them based upon what seems to make the most sense for the organization ultimately. Okay, and, would very much like to see that going forward as we begin this new year of 2025. Okay, so.
Can we add a report inside of DECO perhaps that shows the?
We'll do an HR, yeah, we'll do an HR item. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna close out the meeting. So the remaining 4 items on the agenda are information items. There will be no presentation unless requested, and Will, you can.
Assuming the motion and second previously reported for SONYMA, all in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion is carried, and the SONYMA meetings are adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Safe travels.
Thanks,
Take care.
Thank you.
Are we free?